The story begins with a newscaster reporting the current predicament the world is facing. The weather report for today is that the Earth has entered a new ice age. The global temperature continues to drop at an alarming rate and is not showing any signs of recovery anytime soon. However, despite experiencing the excruciating frost himself, the newscaster urges the viewers to not lose hope. Whether or not he was paid to be optimistic in this despairing scenario, the man states that the government hasn't abandoned their people yet and they will overcome this crisis with the cooperation of everyone. Unfortunately, before he could even finish his supposedly hope-giving statement, a massive airplane came crashing down on him, ultimately ending the news crew's lives and cutting the line from the views. The scene then shifts to a nasty apartment room filled with bags of emptied supplies scattered around. It is pretty evident that the electricity is no longer running in this place because of how dark and frozen it is. This place turns out to be the room of our hero Han Feng, and there seems to be someone knocking on his doorstep. The man walks to the door with his bloody baseball bat ready to attack if the visitor turns out to be hostile. As he peeks through the peephole, he sees a terrified and shivering beautiful lady almost on the verge of freezing. Knocking on his door, our simple little main character opens the door without hesitation, and despite the temperature being way past freezing, this idiot still manages to blush as he greets his little crush. Hyona, he quickly invites her inside, saying that it is very dangerous to be outside, especially with looters roaming around. Suddenly, the pretty woman opens the door wide. She then throws herself into Han Feng, pulling his clothes before proceeding to kiss him passionately. The two shared the warmth of their body through their mouths. They were so out of it that they didn't even notice how much time had passed after sharing that hot, passionate smooch. Our boy finally comes to his senses, asking why did he own such a thing. Right after he opened the door, the distressed gal answers in a very meek voice, saying that she has come to realize that the one she truly loves is none other than Han Feng. With teary eyes and an innocent smile, she states that he's the one she's supposed to be with. The cold apocalypse revealed the true colors of the people around her, making her aware that Han Feng really cares about her. Trying to convince our baffled hero, she leans closer and in a seductive tone of voice. She states that if he doesn't believe her, she will be willing to do anything. This gave our horny boy naughty ideas, making his beet red face even brighter. Hyona even presses her legs towards Han Feng's manhood, exciting our boy even further. His mind is going blank, and steam is wheezing out of his nose from the ecstasy before he completely loses his mind. He manages to barely say what's on his heart, declaring that H's words mean so much to him. But he's not really sure that this is the right thing to do. However, the persistent lady isn't backing down. She stared right into our boy's soul, melting it. Despite the freezing temperature, convinced Han Feng closes his eyes at this point. He's already on cloud nine, so he doesn't really care what happens next, thinking that they will go all the way like real lovers. What he didn't expect is that there is someone creeping within the shadows, and the moment our boy closed his eyes, this man came out of God knows where and struck him with a baseball bat, and Fang was fatally injured, and he lay down on the floor bleeding to his death, barely conscious. As it turns out, the Asant is an acquaintance of Hyona, and the girl isn't actually a pure-hearted lady, but rather a evil. They planned this from the start, and their goal is to loot our boy's room and take away all of his supplies in order to survive the cold apocalypse. Our poor boy spent the last moments of his life shivering in the lonely hallway as he listened to the treacherous conversation between Hyona and her buddy. Life slowly escapes our hero, and his body is gradually matching the room temperature. Despite the disable act of betraying the pure-hearted Han Feng, the bitch still had the audacity to flirt with the man right in front of our boy's face. Han Feng dies, and his last thoughts are, if he's to be reborn again, he promises to be done being a lovesick puppy who gets taken advantage of as his soul leaves his body. Our boy finds the light at the end of the tunnel, and he tries his best to reach out to it. Once he has made contact with the dim light, it suddenly turns red and violently envelops his whole being. The next thing he knows, he's abruptly woken up with sweat dripping down his face as if he just had a terrible nightmare. Our boy sits on the bed, dumbfounded. He just stared at the window, wondering where on earth is he. 30 minutes later, we see our boy standing on the balcony, enjoying the warmth of the sun. He never thought that he would feel this kind of sensation ever again, because of the ice apocalypse that he had experienced. Confused, he checked the date and learned that today is the 28th of June. And if his memory won't fail him, the apocalypse started on July 15th. He is aware that he should be dead right now. But the feeling he's feeling right now is too real to be considered a dream. There's only one thing to explain this scenario. Han Feng has been reborn. However, something is different this time around ever since he woke up. The red glow has been around his right hand the whole time, although it might seem like his hand is on fire. It doesn't actually hurt or burn our boy. The only effect that it does is that it gives off a warm sensation. Dust enters his nose, causing him to sneeze all of a sudden. The red glowing light on his right hand turned green, confusing our boy. He becomes even more surprised when the green flame burns bigger, making him wonder what actually is going on. Despite this, Han Feng doesn't seem to be feeling any pain. He goes back to his room feeling exhausted from overthinking the situation. He comments on how surreal the thing on his hand is, saying that science wouldn't be able to explain why is there beams of light shooting out from his hand. After violently expanding, the glow began to calm down and slowly shrink. Han Feng remarks that the green light is different compared to the red one, saying that the red is more stable. Suddenly our boy feels completely drained, so he sits on the sofa as he tries to catch his breath. He wonders if this sudden exhaustion is caused by the green flame, convinced that it is indeed the cause. He flails his hand around trying to extinguish the fire, but it won't budge. Then something comes to his mind. Maybe there's a chance that this is a power-up just like the ones he sees on Manus. The usual storyline is that the protagonist will be reborn after a gruesome death and receive an overpowered ability. With this in mind, he grabs a knife and points it forward. Unfortunately, the green flame didn't react. It's still in his hand and didn't cross towards the knife, realizing how silly he might look. Han Feng scratches the back of his head while making a dumb face. His stomach then began grumbling from all the moving he was doing. The dude just woke up and he already started doing some crazy shit without having breakfast. Our boy went to check the fridge, but unfortunately, he found nothing inside. Man, this panel is too relatable. This is not good for our boy. He's famished if he doesn't eat something soon. He will pass out. Maybe the flame on his hand has something to do with how fast he's getting hungry. By some stroke of luck, he notices a jar of leftover soybeans on the table. Well, it isn't the best meal there is, considering that it is just a snack. But Han Feng is desperate. He would eat anything that is available to alleviate some of his hunger. He uses his right hand to pick up the bean and throws it into his mouth. As he was about to chew the bean, it exploded in his mouth. As the smoke clears, we see a full-grown crop escaping Han Feng's mouth. The man himself is too stunned to realize what is going on. As he pulls out the crop from his mouth, he notices that it is a fully grown soybean plant. In addition to that weird scenario, the exhaustion he was feeling earlier is gone. Along with the flame on his hand, our boy takes one pod from the plant and opens it, and sure enough, there are some healthy bean sprouts inside. Our hero is now sure that he has indeed gone back in time and acquired the power to help him survive. He's now eager to learn more about his abilities. However, the most important thing must come first, and that is to stock up on supplies for the upcoming ice age. The scene switches to the crowded scenery of the city. The street is jam-packed with people, and the foot traffic is quite heavy. Amongst the people is our hero, who is currently lost in thoughts as he walks. He assesses the power that he has. As far as he knows, the flame on his hand has two colors, red and green. He hasn't seen what the red one can do yet, but the green flame makes his heart beat faster as it expands or shrinks, making him feel tired. Then it also had some effect on the soybeans. The information he has right now is too little to make any conclusion, so he just stares at his hand. Suddenly, someone calls him from behind. Our boy immediately recognizes this sweet and alluring tone of voice, so he turns around. But the facial expression he's wearing is that of annoyance. The reason is simple because the one who called him is none other than the treacherous bitch that caused his death during the ice apocalypse. Just like in Han Feng's previous life, the bitch acted also clingy and innocent, saying that she didn't expect that they would bump into each other, commenting that it must be the work of fate. Our hero flinches after seeing Hyona. Once again, causing mixed emotions to build up inside him, this simp king considered Hyona as the goddess of his dreams for 3 long years, and during that time, he had done everything to make her happy, even though he always knew that he was nothing to her but a fallback guy, who she only called when convenient. Han Feng didn't mind. However, never did he think that this bitch he's head over heels for will be the reason for his death. Recalling the previous incident, rage boils in our hero's veins, but he chose to calm himself for now. Now is not the time to take revenge, yet he needs to secure supplies first. On the other hand, Kiona desperately tries to catch his attention. She leans closer, asking what our boy is spacing out for despite the anger he is feeling towards the bitch. Han Feng act civilized, pretending that he's still the simp who was before our boy acted natural, complimenting the bitch for her pretty face. Hyona laughs, commenting that Han Feng is getting smooth with his advances, but of course she's just saying this to trick our boy with a seductive pose, showcasing her beauty. She invites our hero to go shopping. She's probably thinking that she will be able to get some free stuff from our hero and intends to use him as a walk-in credit card. Unfortunately for her, Han Feng is now a real Chad after watching too many motivational YouTube shorts. I meet after dying once because of her. Our boy walks past her saying that he can't go with her today. The bitch was absolutely taken aback. Her eyes widened after getting rejected by the man she considers a dog. Han Feng continued walking without looking back in his mind. He compliments the bitch for trying, but he is no longer the foolish man from before the scene changes, and we are taken to a busy supermarket. The Waldemer, definitely not to be confused with Walmart. It is the largest and most well-stocked supermarket in the East region, of course. When the Ice Age hit, this place was cleaned out overnight and nobody ever found out who did it. Our hero walks through the supermarket and he immediately fills his push cart with necessary supplies. There is only one thing on his mind, and that is to stock up as much as he can before the apocalypse hits. He's also browsing the internet for survival. Tips for the apocalypse. According to it, the things he needs most are food, winter clothes, medicine, daily necessities, fuel, and such. However, just like any other man, Han Feng faces one major problem, which is money. Currently, he only has 15,357 yuan in his wallet, and it surely won't suffice if he intends to purchase everything he needs. Han Feng faces a dead end. He doesn't know where to get the necessary money to buy everything. Suddenly, a message notification pops up informing him that he is now eligible for a loan of up to $168,000 yuan. This gave our hero a bright idea, and without having any second thoughts, he downloaded all the loan applications on his phone. There are plenty of ways to get a loan, and he doesn't intend to pay them back since the apocalypse will come anyway. Meanwhile, we see Hyona furious about the previous interaction with our hero. She's pissed that even though Han Feng is just one of her losers, the guy had the audacity to reject her. According to her, Han Feng is just a pathetic loser who doesn't even own a car, and as such, she plans to not interact with him ever again. Right at that moment, a luxurious-looking car pulled up right beside her, and when the driver rolled down the window, it revealed our boy looking happy with his purchase. Hyona was taken back to see Han Feng driving a car. Her eyes almost left their sockets as she stared at the man who she had just been berating a few moments ago. The gold digger quickly asked our boy if he owned the car, which Han Feng confirmed, saying that he just bought it. He explained that his dad's business was doing well in the US, so he gave our boy some cash. The bitch realizes that Han Feng does have his uses, so she reverts back to her sweet and cunning attitude towards our boy with teary eyes. She began apologizing for inviting Han Feng to go shopping earlier, claiming that she didn't know he had an appointment. However, she states that she was a bit hurt that Han Feng acted coldly towards her, thinking that our boy was trying to avoid her. Our hero smirks, calling Hyona silly for thinking about such a thing. He then gently grabs her by the chin and pulls her closer, saying that he would never, ever ditch her, claiming that she is too important for him. Hearing this, the bitch smirked, thinking that she had regained control over the man. She then puts up her best acting skills, saying that Han Feng is also special to her. As such, the bitch tries to invite him for dinner and go watch some movies together, stating that she wants to know him better. Unfortunately for her, our boy didn't hear any of her bullshit, for he has moved away from her. As she turns around, Huna sees our boy fixing up all the stuff that is stacked on his car's trunk, saying that he will be busy for the whole day with these many supplies on him, a little bit pissed at getting ignored. Hyuna asked our hero why he bought too much stuff, and Han Feng stated that there was no special meaning to it. He just wanted to do so, and our boy then informs her that he also bought a present for Hyuna. Making the girl blush from excitement, the bitch opted to get a move on, but she made sure to tell our boy that she was looking forward to the gift he got for her. As she walks away, a sinister smile forms on her face, thinking that she has just nailed it. Earlier, she thought that she had just lost an insignificant one, but it makes her happy that Han Feng seems to be as gullible as ever. On the other hand, our boy is also smiling. He doesn't want the bitch to find out about the stockpile of necessities he has, but he also doesn't want to lose her connection with Hyuna, for he intends to take revenge. A sinister thought sprouts in the back of our hero's mind once he has finished all of his preparation, and the apocalypse dawns on Earth vows that Hyuna and the man who killed him will get a taste of their own medicine. Thinking about it actually makes our boy excited. He can no longer wait until the Ice Age starts. The Ice Age will start on July 15th. The day will start with heavy snow and the temperature will plummet to 20 degrees C, which is 4 degrees. For those who don't use the metric system, over the next month, the temperature will continue to drop, gradually reaching lows of 70 degrees C. At this point, the world will be encased in ice and snow, making it impossible to go outside. As such, Han Feng is utilizing his time to prepare for the inevitable disaster. He is currently stocking up enough food supplies to help him survive. All of it is packed and sealed properly so that his neighbors won't suspect that he's hoarding all the food for sensitive and suspicious supplies. Han Feng moves them by himself with the cover of the night so no one would spot him. After the apocalypse, the power grid will be extremely unstable. That's where the fuel he has bought will be used for the generators. He has stocked up enough fuel that will last at least a year. When the apocalypse hits, the heating system will stop as well, so he needs to modify his house for independent heating and also needs to reinforce the doors and windows for his security. At this point, I'm really lost on how large his apartment is. Hell, he even dedicated a room for storing other supplies. By the time he finished getting ready, it was already the 14th of July, just one day before the temperature plummets. With just a day left, it is now time for the main event. Han Feng steeled himself, ready to face the upcoming disaster and survive the upcoming Ice Age apocalypse. Relying solely on the supplies he has accumulated won't be enough, and as such, he is depending on his power to manipulate plants. Han Feng prays that it doesn't fail him in his time of need. Sitting at the table, our hero looks at the prepared soybeans that he has also grown with the use of his ability. Even though it was such a helpful skill, he can't help but be a little bit anxious about it, because he still hasn't figured out how to actually activate it now for the moment of truth. Our hero opens his mouth to taste the fruit of his labor. As he slowly puts the spoonful of beans into his mouth, he wishes that the taste wouldn't be that bad. Sure enough, the food he grew with his skill is definitely edible. This proves that he has acquired the ability to produce food. The next step is to figure out how to actually use his power, as he's already aware it has 2 colors, but he still doesn't have the ability to control what color will appear. So far, he has only tried his power on the soybeans, and it was just a pure accident. With that in mind, he opened his fridge and decided to test if the green aura would work with that. In mind, he opened his fridge and decided if the green aura would work with other plants as well. The scene zooms outside and the bright daylight soon changes into the falling of dusk. Our hero slowly opens his eyes, and he sees his hand holding broccoli. As it turns out, our hero passed out after thinking that he would try to use his new skills. He gets up and sees that there are a lot of full-grown root crops and plants scattered around his apartment. However, his head hurts like hell, so he can't really assess the situation. One thing is clear: his power takes a serious toll on his mind and body, so he can't just use it on a whim. Despite that, our boy is somewhat happy that he still at least learned something about his mysterious power earlier. Before he blacked out, he tried using his power on a bunch of different plants. There are some plants that didn't react at all, while others grew from seeds into full-grown plants in no time, just like the soybeans. There are also some hazards as well, because quite a few of them exploded after getting exposed to Han Feng's power. After the explosions, they turned into substances that looked like coal, but because they are very light despite their weight, they can indeed be used as coal, which makes up a good source of heat. With that, there is no need for our boy to worry about staying warm for now. Afterward, he tried to abuse his power many more times. He even tried increasing his focus so that he could get a bit more control. After making the broccoli bloom like a bouquet of flowers, the exhaustion finally caught up to our hero, and he collapsed to the floor. The success rate of his power is way too random, and he can't find any patterns at all. However, our boy is convinced that there's got to be some kind of principle behind his mysterious ability. There is only one day before the apocalypse starts, yet our boy is still just trying to figure out his mysterious power. As Han Feng is a bit troubled about his power, he twists around the broccoli he has grown using his green power while lamenting the fact that he cannot find any patterns on the activation of the ability. The success rate and the effects of our boy's mysterious skill are way too random. However, it's still good that Han Feng has gotten some understanding of the activation conditions. The key to his power lies significantly in his consciousness. As such, he sat down with his legs tucked and started meditating, feeling the whole sensation of his body. Gathering all his focus and peace of mind, our boy started imagining himself out in nature completely naked. This is starting to look like one of those spiritual journey ads. He walks into the forest as different animals stare at him, wondering what the heck this man is doing. By putting his utmost effort into this imaginary world, both his body and mind became part of the natural world. Thinking that he has successfully become one with nature, at least by heart, our boy slowly opens his eyes, curious about the result. Fortunately, his theory turned out to be correct. This green flame of his is indeed connected to his consciousness. The flame on his hand started pulsating, signaling that it's working, but it is not going out of control. The next thing we see are different kinds of meat laid down on the table. It seems our boy is about to test something here. He gently places his hand on the pork meat, wondering if the green flame will react to it. However, even after placing his hand on it for quite some time, no reaction occurred on the meat, making Han Feng wonder if it's really only working on plants, not wanting to be a vegetarian for the rest of the apocalypse. Our boy becomes impatient and grabs the meat tightly, praying that his magic will affect it. He poured all his concentration on his hand to the point that his veins started bulging from the intense focus. Despite that, our boy became a bit disappointed to find that nothing happened. However, when he meditated earlier, he felt two distinct sensations when trying to activate his power. He then remembered that he actually had the red flame as well, and he hadn't tried it out yet. In meditation mode, our hero channeled his thoughts into activating the red flame. He closed his eyes and started his mental preparation once again. As the red flame burned on his hand, it started to envelop the meat. He closed his eyes and started his mental preparation. Once again, the red flame burned on his hand, and it started to envelop the meat he was holding. The pork started showing bubbles on it, indicating that something was happening. Suddenly, the delicious fresh meat turned into an undistinguishable blob of flesh. It's so disgusting that the artist had to blur it for us so we wouldn't vomit like our hero did. Horrified by the mean Han Feng violently tossed it to the ground, calling it more disgusting than his curiosity gets the better of him. He starts pressing his finger against the meat that looks like chum from the chum bucket that plankton sells, wondering what happened to it. As he picks it up, he realizes that the meat actually reacted to the red light, but it felt like the pork got cooked or something. Han Feng gets a little bit disappointed, thinking that it's all that the red flame can do, but as he stares at his hand, he feels that there is a lot more than just that. As he observes the massacred meat closer, he notices that the red flame somehow disintegrated it, resulting in its hideous appearance. Suddenly, something comes up to his mind. He started wondering what will happen if he uses both of his power and combine it together. As such, he grabs a handful of soybeans from the bowl and activates his other flame. On his right hand is the handful of soybeans enveloped with the green aura, and on his left hand is the meat imbued with the red flame. The green light signifies growth, and the red light is the opposite of it, which is disintegration. Han Feng then wonders what would happen if he combined the two opposing powers into one. As such, he smushes the soybeans and the meat together, and along with the two flames, a bright golden light started to appear on his hands. The result of the experiment was so good that it made our boy shout in amazement. The disgusting meat from earlier reverted back to its pristine condition, and it actually grew bigger. It almost expanded 4 times its original size. However, the soybeans on his other hand disappeared, making our boy confused. This made him ponder if they got merged with the meat, creating this incredible product. Han Feng began observing the newly enhanced meat closely, sniffing and looking at it meticulously. There is no doubt that the quality of the meat became even better than the original. According to our boy, it feels and smells exactly like real meat, but it's even fresher, somehow delighted by this successful experiment. Steam began puffing out of our hero's nose, excited to repeat the process. Unfortunately, all his next experiments ended in failure. Han Feng slams the ground, asking what he did wrong. Even though he failed miserably, he got over his tantrum quickly and decided to pay no mind to his failure, deciding that he will just figure it out next time. Anyhow, he concludes that today's experiment is still productive. He can now freely activate both the green and red flames at once. Han Feng grins, thinking that if he can just master this power, he will be the man standing at the pinnacle of this apocalyptic world. He starts visualizing himself as a superhuman standing on the peak of Mount Everest, while wearing his underwear outside his pants. I wonder which superhero wears this kind of attire. We won't mention his name for copyright issues. Then he suddenly realizes that having the ability to procure food easily doesn't put him on the same level as the Man of Steel. He remembers that he also needs protection as a normal human being. He's completely defenseless against thieves as such. Han Feng started cleaning up the mess, made him thinking that they got to hurry and find himself a weapon before the temperature plummeted down while he was picking up the things on the floor. He gazed out the window and saw snow falling from the sky. It had started the global freezing that affected the whole world as we know it, although Han Feng was already aware that it would happen on the 15th of July. It still feels surreal for him to witness it once again, knowing what to do next. Our boy decided to go outside to fetch some weapons. The temperature will drop to 45 below within the week, so he decides to get a gun fast. However, since he's not living in America, buying guns is illegal, and he doesn't exactly have any connections to smuggle him some. As he's walking by, he overhears someone is saying that he is someone in construction involved in projects costing millions. An overly dressed blonde guy is seen talking to someone. His fashion sense reminds me of those TikTok teenagers trying to impress their viewers. He tells the man with him that he knows LA from the Zigging Lead group, claiming that he's his big brother. Our hero seems to recognize this clown. Han Feng is well familiar with the exaggerated fashion style that this man has around the area. This clown is pretty popular and everyone calls him a brother. He is reputed to be he's in charge of contracting projects, and he seems to know everyone around here. The man he's talking to offers him a cigarette, but Life states that he doesn't smoke any brands other than Huazi, for they only make him cough. I'm no smoker, but I'm pretty sure this fool is just exaggerating according to our hero. This fool doesn't have a proper job, but he always acts so busy despite that his connections are the real deal staring at him. Han Feng wonders if he could use this idiot to get what he needs, a gun, since it is illegal to buy it directly. Our boy wonders if one of Lee's connections will be able to get him one as such. Our boy calls out to his brother and the guy looks at him curiously. But man, let me just say this. Though this idiot's face is irritating, Han Feng awkwardly waves at the man and gives off a fake smile. Lee asks our boy if they know each other. In response, our boy says that he's Han Feng and proceeds to ask the man if he doesn't remember him. Not wanting to embarrass himself, he pretends that he just remembered our boy, even though he has absolutely no idea who Han Feng really is. The fool explains that he's been too busy lately. That's why he forgot our boy's name. After that short introduction, our boy started to look around suspiciously, as if he's checking if there are people listening to their conversation, confirming that they are not being monitored. He comes near the curious Lai and whispers his agenda. The blonde man couldn't help but shout from surprise after hearing our boy's demand, asking why he needed such a thing and feeling guilty. Han Feng's gaze wanders to the side, not knowing what kind of convincing explanation he could give the man. But before he could say any further lies, it was clear that he doesn't do anything illegal. He admits that he does know people that can help our boy with his problem, but he doesn't want Han Feng to get mixed up in something dangerous. Despite how annoying this man is, he's still got his principles. Our boy tries to calm him down, saying that it isn't that much of a big deal. He reveals that he just wants to own such a thing for self-defense, claiming that there is someone who harbors a personal grudge against him, and he worries for his safety. Han Feng's story goes like this. One day, he was riding his bike to work when he ran into an old man who spits everywhere like a thug. Unfortunately, our unsuspecting boy became a victim and got spat right into his face. Naturally, this enraged our boy, so he confronted the old man, asking who the hell he thinks he is. The two had a heated argument that resulted in a fight. Han Feng ended up beating the shit out of the arrogant bastard. As the man left, he told our hero that he will get back at him just like any other third-rate villain. The next day, that guy actually stood by his word and awaited our hero with his goons. They all ganged up on our poor boy, beating him back in blue and declaring that they would do it again if they ever saw our boy around the block. Han Feng claims that he has never been so humiliated in his whole life as at that time. That is why he wants a gun to use for self-defense, and that is more or less why he needs the thing he was asking for. I was quite moved by our boy's story, calling the old man a nasty jerk. But it isn't for the reason a normal person might think. He's actually furious about the old man spitting anywhere, and not about our hero getting beaten up and calling him uncivilized. Han Feng was a bit mad that Brother Lai got moved by the thing about spitting, and not him being a victim. No matter the reason, Brother is now on board with our hero's story. He puts his hand on hand. Fang should reassuring him not to worry. The man proudly declares that he got our boy covered, saying that he will make a call to his connections right now and assist him with his problems. Still feeling a little guilty, our boy couldn't even look at the man as he thanked him, knowing that he just lied his way through. Lee tells him that they'll hop on the bus to get to their destination, saying that his luxury car is being serviced today so they wouldn't be able to use it, but I'm calling cap on this bullshit. And Fang remarks that there is no need to worry about transportation for he has his own car. As he says this, the luxurious pickup truck near them began beeping, indicating that it's our boy's surprising lie, and so the two sped to where Lee's connection is. Along the way, the man can't help but be amazed at how awesome our boy's ride is and asks how much it costed him. Han Feng reveals that he bought the car for 700,000 yuan while telling our boy the direction. This social climber started snapping selfies, taking advantage of the luxurious interior of the car. He then posted to his social media account, complaining that this new SUV is a bit uncomfortable to sit on the scene switches, and we are taken to the entertainment district where casino and other things are located. There are people sitting outside by a campfire in the middle of the streets, complaining how cold it has become tonight. Suddenly, the three goon-looking men notices that there's someone pulling up out of the luxurious car, comes out. Lee acting so self-important as ever, the goons all stood up to greet the man, and based on their interaction, they are indeed close with the con man. They are impressed by Lee's gorgeous ride, asking how much he has bought. Such baby putting up some airline, deny the ride being his, and states that he has bought it around 700 grand. Hanfang, who's the real owner of the car, can't help but be amazed at how confident Lee is at lying and saying that he bought the car with the real owner just beside him. Inside, they are greeted by a man with huge physique and intimidating aura. No doubt this person is the mafia boss he calls Big Mouth Lai, asking what the hell he's doing in her. So late in response, Lai nervously offers the boss a cigar, trying to break the ice. However, the boss has no time for such small talks, so he tells Lai to get straight to business while still a little shaking. Brother Lee informs him that our boy came here to buy something from him, specifically a gun, just by looking at the man. Shiver run through our boy's spine, acknowledging how intimidating the man actually is. The boss just stared at our hero's entire existence while casually smoking his cigar. This overwhelming pressure really proves his status. The man then smiles, acknowledging our boy's business. He confirms that he can easily get such a lousy gun for our boy. However, he's a bit disappointed because he thought that Han Feng brought him something more interesting than a deal with a gun. The boss calls out one of his lakes, Kangi, and the man quickly pulls out the item from his pocket. He tosses a handgun onto the table, saying that it costs 6,000. Just when the group thought that the business was done, Han Feng gathered his confidence and stated that he was actually looking for a longer and bigger gun rather than a pistol, just like the brother Zhang Yi has. He makes a circular gesture with his hand, saying that he's searching for something with a scope. The boss leans back on his couch, looking very disappointed at our hero, but he didn't say anything. The man's sudden change of demeanor scared our boy for a bit. He gulps his saliva in an attempt to calm himself a bit. Then the mafia boss angrily shouted at him, asking if he's looking for a freaking sniper rifle. He angrily informs Han Feng that this place is into a shopping mall where he can get anything he wants. This handgun is the best they could offer, so it's up to Han Feng to take it or leave it at this point, brother. Lai jumps into the conversation, and he immediately explained the situation of our boy to the boss. However, the story is completely different to what our boy told. Lie before. This time, his need for a gun has something to do with his wife and the incident. 5 years ago, some time has passed, and the next thing we see is the mafia boss getting moved by Brother Lee's story. He kept on repeating the same word, yelling that it is disgusting, you see, as it turns out, Lie told the boss that Han Feng was cheated on by his wife, and all the 3 children they have aren't his. Our boy can't help but flinch by how absurd Brother Lee's story is, thinking that it is too much even for the man. But since it seems to be working, he kept his mouth shut and didn't complain, fully convinced by the tragic background story. The boss states that the sniper rifle can be arranged, but it will take them a few days to procure it. Hearing this made our boy happy, so he thanks Lu, the mafia boss, for his generosity and understanding. Lu orders Kenzie once again to arrange the deal, telling him to check if he can get a semi-automatic rifle. He even says to load it up with ammo as well. On the other hand, Brother Lee turns towards our boy Bo, and while giving up a thumbs up, he proudly states that the business is done within minutes. In a surprising turn of events, the mafia in Boston hands the handgun to our boy, taking him by surprise. Lee reveals that it is a gift and urges Han Feng to take it, bewildered by the generous gesture of the gangster. Han Feng was lost for words for a moment and just stared at the man. After accepting the gift, he informs the mafia boss about the current weather problem. He states that one of them, his friends who are working for the government, told him that due to the abnormal weather, they're going to limit the purchase of supplies soon, so it is best to stock up as early as possible. The mafia boss stared at him, assessing. If Han Feng is telling the truth despite his intimidating gaze, our boy remains steadfast in his words. How serious he is. It seems like our boy took quite a liking to this man. That's why he was willing to give him a hint about the upcoming apocalypse, so they can prepare with that their business with the mafia is done, and Lee tells them to get the hell out of their place. As they are walking, Lee won't shut up how he handled the deal smoothly. He comments that Lu's mood is so good that he could even ask for a cannon and the guy will agree. Delighted our boy. Thanks Lai, saying that he will buy him some cigar later. The blonde man clarifies that he isn't really asking for anything in return. But if our boy insists, he only takes Huazi cigars and just 7 to 8 cartons will do, while the man just kept yapping about cigars. Our boy is doing some mental checks. He now has food, supplies, and shelter. He's now all set for the apocalypse. All that is left to do is master his ability. However, since he wasn't paying attention to where he was going, Han Feng wasn't able to see the ice build up on the pavement and ended up slipping and flipping. Our boy had a bad fall, injuring his leg. In the process, he trembles in pain while holding his injured leg. He feels that his leg is broken, so he gives his keys to his brother, lying and asking him to drive him to the hospital, saying that he actually doesn't have a driver's license, so he can't do such a thing. Pitying our boy, he carries him and decides to take him by foot, but our hero is too heavy for him, so they just took a taxi to the hospital office. The employees are packing their things up, ready to go home. One cute nurse looks at the window, noticing how bad the weather has become. Suddenly, she receives an urgent call saying that they are currently short-staffed, so they need the head nurse to assist them. Then here we see our boy Han Feng looking down like a scolded puppy. He really broke his leg because he wasn't paying attention. The doctor tells him that he will need to stay for an hour for observation. Our boy is really cooked. The cold apocalypse is at its initial phase, but he's stuck in the hospital instead of preparing for it while waiting for the doctor in the lobby. Brother Lai bids his farewell to Han Feng, saying that he has other things to attend to. But the kind con artist tells our boy that he can call him any a time if he needs anything, and with that, our boy is left alone in the crowded and cold hospital. The facility is overflowing with patients, victims of accidents caused by the sudden blizzard and plummeting temperatures. Emergency beds line the hallways, a grim testament to the worsening conditions outside. Han Feng looks around, wondering when the result will come out to be able to get his medicines. His attention is then caught elsewhere when a pair of nice racks pass by. Of course, like any man of culture, this dude wouldn't miss it. Once it got into his peripheral vision, the head nurse quickly attended to the patient, requiring immediate medical attention. She checked on the patients one by one, working diligently and almost flawlessly. Her meticulous skill combined with her elegant appearance is a perfect work of art. As such, our boy can't help but be mesmerized by the beautiful scenery that he is witnessing right now. He's even more amazed to find out that this young lady has already become a head nurse at such a young age. The pretty head nurse, and the more he observes her, the more he gets captivated by Jin's incredible skill and kindness. Her work ethics are elegant, but what is more majestic is her unbelievable gorgeous face. Han Feng kept on admiring her. Not only her face, but his eyes also wandered into the departments of the flowery field. As he caught the lady sitting down, he couldn't help but think that this girl wasn't paying much attention to her actions. Han Feng worries that other people might take advantage of her vulnerability, just like what he is doing right now. Suddenly, the old man sitting beside our boy calls the attention of the head nurse, being the ever-disciplined worker. Jiang immediately attended to the old man. The man complains that his back is aching and wants some assistance with it. However, since the hospital is short-staffed, the head nurse informs him that she will attend to him at a later time. Little did she know all of these complaints were just a far cry so that the sleazy old Bones could sneak his smartphone underneath the nurse's skirt and take a video of it, still clueless about the situation. JY maintained her sunny disposition and acted kindly to the SLE ball. She states that they will need to x-ray his back to make sure, not giving a single damn about her explanation. The old fart became even more aroused. He stood up and began caressing Jin's body in the pretext of showing her where the part of his body hurts. The head nurse is visibly taken back by this sudden gesture, so she flinches. But as it turns out, she didn't think that she's being taken advantage of. Her only complaint is that she's ticklish around the area where the S of the ball is touching. Hearing this, the creepy old man grins, thinking that this is his chance to go even further. Plus ultra, his hand started slipping down her butt, and he began groping them watermelons. Just when things are getting out of hand, an unidentified flying crutch shoots towards the SLE ball, knocking him down. The old bastard falls down to the floor with his ass first and starts groaning from the pain. Despite being taken advantage of, Jin still showed concern for the patient. The crutch came from our boy, explaining that this is his first time using it, so he accidentally sent it flying. I don't know how that would even happen, but my current satisfaction begs me to stop caring about the tiny details. Han Feng reaches for the old man's phone under the pretext of checking if it broke from the fall. The S-ball immediately became defensive, shouting for our boy not to touch his phone. However, it's all too late. Hanfen grabs the phone and proceeds to check the screen, and that's when he sees that the old man was indeed recording the inside of the nurse's skirt. Our boy confronts the old man, telling him to get the hell out of the hospital. Before he shows anyone the video, he clarifies that he will not be giving the phone back and threatens that the next time he sees the bastard doing such a thing, he will make him famous on the internet. Not wanting to be cancelled by this new generation. The old man kept quiet while holding back his frustration. He sprints out of the facility like Usain Bolt. In a way, we can say that our boy cured his back pain by threatening him. Jin, who is a bit of an airhead, was so surprised to see the old man run at full speed despite complaining about his back. We can't really help our hero for feeling too worried about this naive nurse, seeing that the situation isn't progressing any further. Han Feng shows her the video, saying that the pervert filmed her skirt. In response, Jin just gave a casual response, saying that she didn't notice our boy hands her the phone, saying that she can do whatever with it, but... He suggests that she call the cops on him. Jin just thanked him sincerely and smiled as if nothing had happened. Then she goes to mention our boy's ankle and asks if it isn't injured, remembering that he has a broken leg. All the pain that was masked by his urge to protect the head nurse came flooding in like a broken pipe, causing our boy to shout in agony. In the next scene, we see the head nurse carefully attending to our boy's injury. She had just finished mending it with a gougin. She didn't just heal his injury, but also his heart with her pleasing smile. Han Feng thanks the nurse for the assistance, but she states that she should be the one expressing her gratitude. In response, our boy scolds her to be more aware of her surroundings next time. Even though he just told her this naive nurse went ahead and pulled our boy's foot towards her chest as she conversed with him. One of her subordinates then called for her attention, so she had to bid her farewell to our boy before leaving. She reminds Han Feng to come back in a week so he can get a follow-up checkup. Our boy acknowledges this with a smile on his face and waves goodbye. Han Feng stares at her until she disappears into the crowd. He knows that getting the follow-up checkup wouldn't be possible because of the apocalypse, and he laments about the fact that this might be the last chance they would see each other as such. Our boy leaves the hospital in a crutch. The next day, the blizzard will become even more severe. The buildings in the city are now covered with a thick layer of snow, and people are struggling to even walk the streets. All the news channels are talking about the current crisis. Within the next 24 hours, all regions of the country are expected to experience heavy snow and sharp drops in temperatures. Reports from overseas correspondents show that temperatures are plummeting worldwide. Experts and specialists from different countries are now discussing this unexpected weather anomaly. From their assessment, The cold snap wouldn't last long, and the weather would return to what it used to be in no time. However, they warn people to pay attention to disaster warnings and follow the arrangements of the local governments. We see Han Feng casually watching this terrible news while sipping a glass of wine. As if this global calamity doesn't concern him, he scoffs at the news, saying that the government is just lying with all the shite they are saying in a futile attempt to prevent people from panicking. If he hadn't died and come back to the past, he would have believed their words, but not this time. He has come fully prepared to battle this apocalypse. His house is fully stocked with supplies, and the house is reinforced with a heating system. While he sniffs the pleasant aroma of the drink, he smiles, knowing that he has prepared everything he needs and that there is no need to worry about survival. For now, his phone has started ringing. The messages from his apartment complex are all about the current crisis, as our boy had expected. People start to panic, and then one particular message catches the attention of Han Feng. It states that the Ice Age apocalypse is about to begin. Our boy flinches. This is really a surprise to him. How could anyone other than him know about the Ice Age apocalypse? Getting wary of this mysterious person, our boy becomes serious. He deems it necessary to be mindful of this unknown man. Inside the group chat, the people are arguing about procuring supplies. They don't know when the weather will return to normal, so they are fighting about who will go to the supermarket to fetch supplies. People are protesting for the property manager to show themselves and give an explanation for their current situation. The agents apologized to the angry mobs, saying that they couldn't really do anything with the weather being this bad. However, the people aren't accepting any apologies. They are hungry, and they need food to survive. So if the property managers wouldn't be of much help, they demand to get their refund on the fees that they are paying them. Han Feng, who is among the crowd, scoffs at everyone present. He knows that this crisis is beyond the control of humans, so this fight amongst them is completely meaningless. One of the residents steps up and tries to calm everyone down. He states that the snowstorm is so violent that even if the property manages to clear the snow by themselves, it will just be covered again as such. He suggests that they all work together to clear the snow so that they can leave the complex and buy some food. However, as expected, there will be people who oppose such thoughts. Their reasoning is that they are paying the property managers for this exact moment so they won't waste their energy helping. The man stood firm with his suggestion. He states that it is impossible for cars to travel in this condition, so he will ask the property managers to clean the footpath and everyone can walk to the supermarket. Our boy just stares at the man doing all the talking. He has some recollection of this person, recalling that his name is Zhong in his previous life. He was a very lively person, and as demonstrated today, he's one to unite people under his banner. Then, one user interrupts the debate, saying that all these talks are nonsense. He comments that anyone who wants to go outside should just do so without troubling other people. He logged out of the discussion room, showing how disinterested he is, followed by that man's disappearance. One overly dressed character steps up, saying that he will head down to help clear the path because he needs to do some business with his brothers outside, amounting to millions. Our boy immediately knew that the one talking is none other than Brother Lee. His arrogant and con artist nature is very obvious, even online with live volunteering. A lot of people followed through, and thus the discussion about it was finalized. Some people with cute characters started raising their hands as well, saying that even though she's physically weak, she will do her best. Then another pretty character jumps in, trying to earn the sympathy of others. This person acted all cute. Our boy immediately knew that this character would be Hyona, the cunning bitch. He heard that Hyona would go, and all of her siblings hopped in as well, saying that they were willing to cooperate. Irritated by the bitch, our boy leaves the chat. He can't help but admit that Hyona is really good at catching people's hearts, even though he was a victim of her acts. Hyona then messaged our boy directly asking what he has been up to lately. She mentions that our boy told her that he would contact her, so she's been waiting the bit. Then asks our boy a favor to go get her some supplies. Then proceeds to send him a seductive selfie, wearing too little despite the cold, even though he's no longer AS for the deceitful witch. Our hero is still contemplating on how to reply to her. It took him too long to reply that it pissed Yona for waiting. She throws her phone on the bed and stomps it. Venting her frustration towards Hanfeng. Today is the third day since it started snowing. The temperature is now minus 20 degrees Celsius. In the early stage of the apocalypse, they still had the central heating system running, so it wasn't too difficult. Even the internet is still up and running, so everyone is living their lives as usual. As for our hero, he was only scrolling through erotic videos to pass the time. Han Fang scoffs that this is just the second day since he's been cooped up in his apartment and he's already bored to the death. It became clear to him that the biggest threat during the apocalypse is the loneliness that comes with it. His leg is still busted as well. A broken bone needs at least a few months to completely recover. So it's no surprise that with nothing better to do, he decided to continue scrolling through random feeds. There he came across some news about self-recovery. After doctors sewed up the wounds of a certain man who jumped off the 15th floor, they discovered that his damaged internal organs and bones had started to regenerate. This miraculous news gave Han Feng an idea. He remembered that he had an ability that promotes growth. As such, he activated his green flame and started placing his hand on his broken leg, wondering if there would be some kind of effect. Pouring everything he's got into this little experiment, our boy stood still and waited. However, the green flame just dissipated after a moment without producing any results. Disappointed, Han Feng lay down on the couch. He thought the green light would be able to help him recover his injury faster. Drowsiness hit our hero, and he fell asleep after a single yawn. As his consciousness faded, the next thing he saw was himself wearing some tribal headgear while riding a mountain goat. From what it seemed, he was traveling with a herd of goats through somewhere. As Han Feng's dream continued, we see our boy cruising with the goats. However, the previous green scenery had changed to red. The grass and surroundings had been tainted with the crimson color of blood, and the goat he was riding became moody. It suddenly reared, sending our boy flying into the air backwards. Naturally, Han Feng became confused at what was happening since the atmosphere a while ago was fine. He fell to the ground, spraining his ankle in the process. Our hero quivered in pain as he endured the agonizing injury caused by the fall. His facial expression indicated how bad the impact was, and he started gritting his teeth. One of the goats approached him and started licking his injured ankle. The sensation was a bit weird and disgusting, but our boy felt a little comfort from it. Still dazed and confused, Han Feng pushed the goat away from him. He was too concerned about his injury to be able to give any attention to this weird grass muncher. However, when Han Feng pushed the animal away, it became furious. The goat looked at our boy with anger in its eyes, irritated that he was interrupted. Then, out of nowhere, its tongue stretched long and began wrapping our boy's injured leg. The goat then pulled Han Feng's foot upward, making him slip back down as he tried to get up. The tongue was then enveloped by a green light as if it was trying to do something to his leg. But before we could actually know what was going on, our hero woke up from the weird dream. He jumped up from a lying position with sweat dripping down his whole body, trying to figure out what that hideous and messy dream was all about. Han Feng did his best to catch his breath and calm his mind. Since he was too busy thinking, it took him a while to realize something had changed in his body. When he noticed it, he quickly looked at his injured ankle and saw a green light being emitted inside the bandages. Our boy removed the cast from his foot and tried to stand up. Surprisingly, his injured leg didn't hurt anymore, and it seemed to be functioning as good as new. Han Feng smiled upon seeing this, knowing that he could move around freely now. He went to the kitchen, wondering if the green light really helped with self-recovery while sleeping. Curious, he went ahead and grabbed a knife. Eager to test the theory out, he slowly placed the knife close to his hand, thinking about slicing it for a little bit despite shaking and being uncertain of his next move. Our boy steeled his resolve and cut the tip of his finger. The wound started bleeding, and pain signals were sent to his brain. Han Feng then immediately activated his green flame, enveloping his wounded hand. He grinned at the result, shouting that he finally understood how things worked. We are then taken to the outside of the apartment complex. As discussed before, several residents had started clearing up a path they could use. Jiang clapped his hands, praising everyone who did their best for their community. Just like his character inside the group chat, Jiang wore eyeglasses and had a very pleasing personality. He apologized to Old Man Liu for troubling him on such a heavy snow day, but he was thankful that they all agreed to his plan. In response, Uncle Liu stated that he didn't do much in this activity. It was the Jin brothers who did most of the work. Jin Wen and Jin Wu were flustered after being praised for their hard work and humbly accepted the acknowledgement. Suddenly, a girl's butt hit the ground because of exhaustion. The brothers quickly attended to the girl, asking if she was all right. They told her not to sit on the ground for long because it's frozen and she might catch a cold. The girl turned out to be the adorable nurse from before, Nurse Jin. She reassured the brothers that she's fine and that there is no need to worry. A relaxing smile was present on her face, elevating the mood. After confirming that she's okay, the brothers informed her that they would go ahead and clean up the main path now, but Jin didn't have to hesitate to call them if she needed anything. The cute lady acknowledged this but stated that she's fine by herself. On the other hand, Jiang told everyone that the snow was getting heavier. They would have to act quicker, so they would still have time to purchase supplies later. The conversation about supplies reminded Old Man Liu about something curious. Jiang asked him what it was, but Liu just scratched his head, commenting that it wasn't significant to mention. He heard that for the past few days, an owner in their neighborhood had been bringing back supplies on a small truck, like he's moving a house. It seemed like he was talking about our boy. Not wanting to overthink it, Jiang remarked that such a thing is a common occurrence. The person might be someone who just moved in or is doing some household renovations. However, the old man tipped his hat and disagreed, saying that he saw gas tanks in the fireplace, which isn't something normal for someone moving in. He commented that the man in question seemed like he was making preparations to get through the winter before he could even draw his conclusions. The Jin brothers approached them. They informed them that they had already cleared the main road, so they should be able to go out now. The old man acknowledged their effort, thanking the two once again for their diligence. Suddenly, a man with huge eye bags crept behind them while smoking his cigar. He mentioned the previous talk about someone making preparations for the winter, stating that the topic was interesting. But before he could pursue the issue further, a large snowball came flying straight at him, hitting the back of his head. The impact was so strong that it pushed the man's eyes out and his cigarette fell from his mouth. The icy projectile came from the busty lady from behind. "Yeah," she told the man, Wu, to stop skylarking and ordered him to get back to work. Wu protested that he was the one who did all the work and the lady who was bossing him around was just watching from the sides. However, Yan just quickly dismissed his displeasure and reprimanded him for pointing at people while talking. Noticing their senseless bickering, Zhang told the two to stop quarreling and informed them the main path had now been cleared. The diligent man told everyone to get ready to head out to the supermarket to buy their much-needed supplies. Marin quickly acknowledged his words and put up a cheery smile. Jin Wu and Jin Wen were troubled because there were a lot that needed to be bought. Wu stated that he would send a message to their mother, thinking that they probably needed something to buy as well. Uncle Li then turned to Jiang, asking his thoughts about the matter. He wanted to know if the eyeglasses man thought the topic from earlier was related to this snowstorm. Jiang paused for a bit as if he's thinking carefully on what to say next. When he opened his mouth, he let out a smile and stated that he was not too concerned about this current situation. In all honesty, he remarked that this weather anomaly was just a brief snowstorm and that it would stop very soon. At that time, everyone's lives would return to normal. So, for now, he didn't think that the said person was actually preparing for this winter. He went on to say that even if they took a step back and assumed that this snowstorm wouldn't stop, If someone in their neighborhood possessed a huge number of resources, it would be a good thing for the whole community. Hearing this, Old Man Liu laughed, commenting that the young ones really do use their brain more. The abnormal blizzard continued, dropping more snow than yesterday. Zhang then rallied everyone, instructing them to queue up and get ready to move out. The snow was getting heavier, so they needed to move in an orderly fashion and try to go home within 3 hours. Thus, the residents of the apartment complex started their arduous journey to the supermarket, combating the harsh weather that the world was experiencing right now. On the other hand, inside one of the houses in the building, we see our boy lying on the bed with his eyes turned white. His sleep is interrupted by someone loudly banging on his door, calling him little brother while telling him to open the door. Han Feng groans as he pushes himself to wake up, still drowsy. Han Feng opens the door and apologizes to his visitor, stating that he was sleeping. The one at his doorstep is none other than our favorite con artist brother Lai, still smoking his cigar and wearing excessive fashion style. The man informs our boy that he has brought the item. Han Feng had purchased a semi-automatic rifle loaded with ammunition, of course. Our boy is delighted upon hearing this news from brother Lai. All of his previous drowsiness disappeared as the con man hands him the guitar case. In response, Lee states that the boss wanted to show his appreciation to Han Feng for giving them a heads up on the upcoming supply scarcity. Our boy just laughs it off, saying that it was nothing. Then, the blonde man became all serious as he remembered something important. Naturally, our boy became curious as to why the atmosphere around the man changed, so he asks if something is wrong. He then breaks very shocking news to our boy. As it turns out, the supermarket in the East District has been emptied out by someone in just one night. They tried to go there and buy supplies, but when they arrived, there wasn't a single item in the store. Han Feng was taken aback after hearing this news. Sweat dripped down his face as he gulped a huge chunk of saliva from disbelief. He wondered if the thing in his previous life was still indeed happening this time around. His contemplation was then interrupted by brother Lai informing him that he would be going ahead now. Before the con artist heads out, he made sure to remind our boy to wear more layers of clothes in order to stay warm, which our boy happily acknowledged. Brother Lai takes his leave, and our boy finds himself alone in his room once again. He quickly closes the door of his house so that no other people could take a glimpse on his room and see all of his hoarded supplies. Han Feng is still puzzled by the news from brother Lai. Han Feng wondered how someone could secretly empty an entire supermarket in one night. No matter how he thought about it, it seemed impossible. Even our hero, who had a lot of money and was already aware of the upcoming apocalypse, couldn't buy everything the supermarket had to offer. Left with no other logical conclusion, he began thinking about the comics and novels he used to read. In those fictional stories, there were superhumans who could store things in another dimension. Since Han Feng himself had been reborn with a strange power, he thought something like this might also be possible. However, if that were true, a superhuman with a dimensional-type ability would be really worrisome. Our boy clenched his fist tightly as he pondered the thought. He sat on the couch and decided he needed to do more research on his ability. If there really were other superhumans out there, he needed to have countermeasures against them. With his current understanding of his power, he knew it affected all kinds of food supplies, increasing their quantity or size. The conditions and effects differed, but they worked on both vegetables and meat. Our boy then grabbed a bean from the bowl as he contemplated the success rate. According to him, the success rate of using his ability was really low. The soybean success rate was 1 out of 10, while meat cans failed tens of times. If this continued, his power wouldn't be that useful, as it would only waste more supplies than it could create. He fiddled around with a single soybean on his hand, wondering what the reason for his failure was. While doing so, Han Feng gently activated his green flame and attempted to affect the bean on his hand. Suddenly, a small explosion occurred after his power integrated with the bean. Our boy was surprised by the green powdery smoke that launched into the air, making him flinch. As the smoke dissipated, it revealed a stone-like object on his hand. The soybean that was previously on his hand had now turned into an unknown rock-like material. Our boy was now absolutely triggered by the high failure rate. He crushed the thing in his hand as he declared that he would figure out exactly how his power worked today, even if it was the last thing he would do. Time passed, and it was now 10:45 in the evening. From the looks of it, our boy had spent all of his time practicing, evident by the scattered soybeans on the background. We then saw a fully grown plant on our boy's hand. It seemed that he had successfully grown some of the beans. As for Han Feng himself, we heard heavy breathing as our boy tried to catch his breath. The scene zoomed out, and we saw our shirtless boy on the verge of exhaustion. It seemed that he had repeatedly tried the experiment because the soybeans that were overflowing in the bowl earlier were now emptied out. Fortunately, our boy had realized something from his failures. When using the green light, the energy output was constant, which explained why he got different results even though he was using the same power on the same type of supply. As it turned out, every type of food had its own corresponding energy values, and for the transformation to be a success, our boy had to figure out that energy value and play around with it. If he ever slightly went past the energy value of the food or exposed it with his power past its critical point, it would instantly result in failure. Suddenly, he was reminded of something that looked like the model of his power. He recalled the online dance game that was popular decades ago, something like Dance Revolution, in which you had to step on the corresponding arrow at the exact moment. In order to help him visualize his power, he thought of energy values as directional input keys. With that, he decided that energy inputs had to be correct for every second, and lastly, he had to pinpoint the critical point or the timing on when he needed to fluctuate his power. As such, our boy gave his utmost concentration as he poured his green flame power into the soybean, and after a while, the seed grew into a perfectly full-grown plant. If observed closely, it was better than the previous ones he had successfully grown. Our boy couldn't help but laugh at his victory. He now knew how to use his green light aura. With that being said, our boy went to the kitchen and decided that he needed to experiment on meat as well. It was as if all of his previous exhaustion and tiredness were washed away by his success. Looking back at the past results, our boy concluded that meats were different from vegetables. If it failed, it became a black liquid, and it was extremely disgusting and foul. Han Feng grabbed a piece of chicken meat in his right hand and some soybeans in his left. Last time, he was able to combine pork and soybeans together, giving him a high-quality meat that was not only superior in freshness, but also in size compared to the original. He stared at the two ingredients, thinking that the principal theory of combining them shouldn't be too different. Slowly, he placed the two ingredients together and went on to do the same process he did earlier. Firstly, he tried to grasp the energy values that the meat required. He noticed that the time needed seemed to be longer compared to vegetables. Everything was going smoothly, and our boy was hitting the arrows perfectly on time, that is, until he made a slight blunder. In an instant after missing just one arrow, the meat exploded into a black liquid and splattered all around him. Not wanting to give up, Han Feng decided to give it another go, but it once again resulted in failure. He tried it once more, but he missed a step right at the get-go, causing the meat to explode again. Frustrated but not willing to admit defeat, he grabbed another ingredient and went for it again. He was actually doing good this time, but it ultimately resulted in a black explosion nonetheless. Our boy had enough. He threw a tantrum and complained that the difficulty of the process was too high, nearly impossible. Time passed, but the blizzard outside didn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Black liquid was around the kitchen of our hero, evident that he had been repeating the same process over and over again. We then saw him sitting on a chair with the ingredients still on his hand. The room was completely silent. It was so quiet, that we could almost hear our boy's heartbeat. On the other hand, Han Feng was completely still, focusing all of his concentration on the meat. Slowly and precisely, our boy perfectly followed the inputs step by step, arrow by arrow. Han Feng was perfectly matching the timing and energy value required. Right at the perfect moment, Han Feng opened his eyes and performed the final step. The result was a magnificently looking dinosaur meat. The final product looked like meat that came from a huge prehistoric bird. Han Feng smiled with satisfaction evident in his eyes. His whole body was sweating from the exhausting procedure, but he was ultimately happy that he was able to successfully use his power. Our boy then collapsed to the floor, desperately trying to catch his breath. On his side, we could see how massive the meat turned out to be. It was longer than our boy's arm and wider than his whole torso. Having one piece of that meat would be able to feed you for a week. While panting, our boy used his mind, knowing that he had finally found the synthesis method for meats. With that being said, he had successfully figured out how his red and green light powers worked. The next day, the snowstorm was getting more violent. We heard the sound of a television revealing today's news. Today was the 17th of July, the third day of the snowstorm. According to the news, the entire country was experiencing the worst snowstorm of the century. While the television went on, we saw our boy lying peacefully on his bed, still recovering from the exhausting process he did earlier to ensure standard basic living for everyone. Defenses and measures had been taken for all locations. The news stated that due to the weather anomaly, all traffic, electricity, and networks were starting to break down. They urged the masses to patiently wait for maintenance by support personnel. It made sure to remind everyone that the government was also delivering resources to affected regions, so they were asking everyone to stay home unless they had special circumstances. Han Feng stretched his limbs. The way things were now, it was exactly the same as in his previous life. Suddenly, his phone rang. Upon receiving a message notification, he saw it was a message from their residence group chat. From the looks of it, some people were quarreling over something. Our boy wasted no time and decided to join the fun, curious about what exactly was happening. As he logged in, the server was already jam-packed with his neighbors all yapping and talking. Han Feng noticed that they were having such an intense quarrel and surmised that the people must have watched the news. Some people believed in waiting for support, while others were quarreling while thinking of how to save themselves. This difference in opinions created discord amongst the people. Suddenly, one of the residents stepped up, asking everyone if they really believed the news. His peculiar question in a tone of voice caught everyone's attention. The person turned out to be the old man, Uncle Lee. He stated that if the situation really was under control like what the news said, then the support team would have arrived a long time ago. However, the old man remarked that up until now, they had not seen a single truck filled with resources coming to support them. Rather, he heard his friends say that a lot of armored vehicles, tanks, and heavy weapons were heading towards the city. So there was only one possibility left in a very concerning tone of voice. Uncle Lee gives his 2 cents about their current situation, and he states that a war is about to commence. Everyone started shouting at Uncle Lou. Is that true? Then aren't we done for how we survive? Our boy Han Feng thought a war is commencing? I think I had heard about this before in my previous life. Zhang said if Uncle Lou's guess is really true, then we really have to start taking measures to save ourselves. In this cold condition, there are already some owners in the neighborhood who have run out of food because they did not hoard enough. Moreover, we don't have a confirmed time of arrival of the support resources from the government. I think we should start organizing ourselves first and help those owners who are facing difficulties. He was convincing everyone that they would help everyone. Then he said, I suggest that owners with ample food supplies donate some of it to support those owners who have run out. He also said he would donate half of his food first from his supplies. Whoever needs it can come look for me anytime. Everyone was discussing this proposal, and suddenly Wu Kuan-yu said, Brother Jiang is right. Everyone in our neighborhood should help each other out to try to get through this crisis together. We can't just let those families starve in such cold weather. Count me in on the donation. Then he pointed at Hyona standing beside her that she would be donating too. Hyona was sitting in her room in front of the electric heater and mumbling in her mouth after listening to him. "Are you crazy, Wu Kuan-yu? There are many people here, yet you had to ask me. Is it because I rejected you before?" Hyona said in the chat, "I'm really sorry, but I don't have any spare food supplies at home." Everyone started shouting at Wu Kuan-yu in the defense of Hyona. She doesn't even have enough for herself. Why don't you ask someone else? Wu Kuan-yu said, "I don't know that. I was just hoping that all of us neighbors would unite and help each other out. If we can't guarantee true unity among ourselves, I won't be donating." Others also agreed that's true. No one wants to become a sucker. Some of them said, regarding the donation, count me in. Some said anyone needs clothes. And some said I have medicine, come to find me if you need any. Then Jang said, let me express my thanks to all of you in place of the owners. There's quite a lot of people here. Why don't we appoint some owners to take charge of this? It will be an interim emergency committee that will establish ourselves to be responsible for the planning and support of donated supplies. Han Feng smiled and thought, interim committee? I remember that this happened in my previous life, too. It was just a scheme to take other people's resources. The scene changes from outside. It's the 19th of July, the 5th day of the apocalypse, and the temperature outside has already dropped to minus 40 degrees. The central heating system is no longer in working condition due to the extreme weather. Everyone is thinking of ways to keep themselves warm and maintain their body temperature. Han Feng thought it was the same as my previous life. The situation will only continue to get worse. Except for me. He was playing games in his comfortable and warm apartment. Suddenly his phone rang. He answered the phone. A voice came, "Hello, is this Mr. Han Feng, the owner of 1801? I am the person in charge of Block 8. We will be heading down to clear the roads in 20 minutes. After you are done, please head down to the basement car park to look for me." Han Feng thought, the snow is so heavy outside. Are you guys blind? I will clear the snow, just wait. After he was done eating, he came down in the lobby. He knew he had to make a low profile to lower the possibility of them finding out my secret to the lowest. But the snow has already sealed up our first floor entrance. Other neighbors were looking outside from the glass door and saying, damn, the paths that were cleared yesterday are booked now with snow. I've never seen snow piled up so high in my entire life. Let's just push the door open first. A man called our boy, "Hey, black hair brother, come give us a hand." Han Feng said, okay. They started pushing the door, pushing on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Suddenly the door was open and a cold blizzard entered the building. Everyone stepped back. It was too cold. The snowstorm was too extreme. Han Feng said, damn it, can't even open my eyes. It's so cold we will get serious frostbite if we go out in this weather. We might even die. Everyone else was saying the same thing. We will definitely get frostbite if we go outside to clear the paths. With this amount of snow, you can clear your butt. Only an idiot would go out in this temperature. Suddenly, an idiot appeared from the back saying, I'm here. Han Feng remembered the voice. It was indeed Brother Li. He said why everyone was acting like a coward. What we need is an imposing attitude. I will go and clear the path for you guys. Others warned him, brother, don't try to be brave. This isn't a game. Let's wait for the snow to stop first. Brother Li doesn't listen to any of them. He took a deep puff from a cigarette in his mouth and started making a way in the snow with his bare hands. He was stepping forward and clearing the snow so fast that he disappeared in the thick snow in no time. Everyone was so amazed by his work. Suddenly, a loud voice came from the thick snow, help me! Everyone hurried and pulled him out of the snow quickly. He was coughing and covered with snow with a blue face. They closed the door and put him down. Han Feng quickly rubbed his chest and said, are you okay, Brother Li? He was so cold he couldn't even say a word. Han Feng said to everyone, let's go to the car park to look for the person in charge and sign our attendance first. We can decide what to do when the snow stops. They haven't released yet with this snowstorm. It's no longer a situation that can be solved with manpower. They all went to the car parking where Jang told everyone the snow was indeed too heavy right now. Let's wait for the snow to lighten up before we started clearing. Also, the basement car park will be designated as the donation and collection point of resources. Han Feng looked at him and thought, is he the one with the surname Jiang in the group? So he is the one that spearheaded the establishment of that scam committee? Zhang, the man in charge, said to everyone once again, "Thank you everyone for your support. I really did not expect so many owners to be willing to donate their resources. Your generous donation will help even more owners who are in a difficult situation. I once again thank all of you in their place." Everyone was talking about the extreme situation and saying, "Everyone faces difficulties at one point or another. It's only right for us to help each other. As long as we are united, I believe we will be able to get through this crisis together." Hang Feng saw all these situations before he thought, "Just wait and see. This disaster will not end. You will regret it soon." Brother Li said to Han Feng, "Little brother, I'm going to my apartment." Han Feng said, "Okay, Brother Li." Suddenly, Han Feng noticed a person with a ponytail on the back. She was the nurse who treated Han Feng's leg. She was carrying some boxes and saying, "Please excuse me and make a way for me." Suddenly, someone rushed into her and she was going to fall. Our hero quickly grabbed her and protected her from falling. Then she opened her beautiful eyes, blushing, and said thanks. Then she remembered, "Oh, it's you. How's your leg now?" She was still worried about Han Feng's leg. Has it already healed? Our boy also blushed and said, "My speed of recovery has always been great since I was young. I can recover from common injuries. In just a few days, he was taking non-stop to cover his secret." She said, "So that's how it is." She was so naive quickly that she trusted Han Feng's words and said, "I see you are so awesome." Han Feng said, "Let me help you with the boxes." She said, "It's fine. It's very heavy." Han Feng said, "I am strong. Take it as thanks for helping with my bandage." She said with a smile, "Since you put it that way, I will have to trouble you." When our boy took the boxes, he bent down a little bit and thought, "This is too much heavy for me." He curiously asked what was inside these boxes. She said, "Oh, these boxes, there are mainly medical supplies. I am donating them. It is too heavy. Why don't you let me carry it?" She can see the weird face of our boy. He smiled at her. "It's fine. I don't feel anything at all." She said, "Don't push yourself. I am actually much stronger than most guys." Han Feng curiously asked her, "Really? Have you always been strong since you were young?" She blushed and said, "Not really, actually, there's a reason behind it." Han Feng noticed she was hiding something, then suddenly she said, "It's nothing, it's just something that happened. I can't really explain it clearly." Then she changed the topic and said, "I still don't know what your name is?" Our boy said it was Han Feng. She smiled and said, "I am called Jin Shu. Nice to meet you." Han Feng was so amazed by her looks. She is so pretty and so naive. Then she asked our hero, "What do you do for a living?" Our boy said in a low tone, "Nothing, unemployed right now." She said, "Wow," Han Feng suddenly said, "What's so surprising about an unemployed person?" As he was talking, someone suddenly pushed Jin Shu. She fell on our boy, pressing her chest with Han Feng's arms. Our boy blushed and imagined naughty thoughts, and his face became red. She said sorry. Our boy smiled and said it's fine. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. "Hi, Han Feng. Why didn't you tell me you were here?" It was the bitch Hyona. She grabbed our hero's hand and pressed with her chest, and she asked, "Who is your friend?" Jin quickly grabbed the boxes from Han Feng's hands, and in a hurry she said, "You two can continue chatting. I won't disturb you. I will carry it over myself, thank you." And she walked away from Han Feng and Hyona. He said to Hyona, "Why are you here?" She smiled and said, "I came down to receive supplies. You didn't contact me, Han. I was worried that something had happened to you." Our boy smiled back to her, scratched his hair a bit, and said, "I was just about to send you a message." "Hyona knows he's lying, Lair. I saw you happily chatting away with that lady just now." She suddenly asked Han Feng, "Do you have any spare food supplies at your house? I've almost run out. Can you share some with me?" Han Feng thought of revenge and said, "I don't have much food left, but I can share some with you, but you still haven't replied to the message that I sent you a few days ago. Do you want to come to my place and accompany me for a few days?" Hyona knew what Han Feng wanted, but she just pretended that she didn't get what he meant. "If you want to chat with me, I'm online all the time." Our boy has his own attitude, he left and said, "Looks like you aren't on board. I'm going back." Hyona immediately grabbed his back and said, "I feel like you have changed recently. You know that I have always been very serious about my feelings. I don't want people to think that I am with you just because you are rich. So can you give me a little more time?" Han Feng showed her that he understood her feelings, but in his mind, he thought, "If I hadn't already died once, I would have believed you. I really want to tear off your ugly mask right now." But I hadn't found out who the man behind you was. Suddenly, an idea came to his mind. I don't have to look for him. I just have to proceed like I did in my previous life and let Hyona bring that man over again. He changed his tone and softly said to her, "I was just teasing you." She looked shocked by his words. Then our boy said, "I will be waiting for your reply. I will also deliver some food supplies to you tomorrow." She smiled and said, "Really, Han Feng, you are the best." She suddenly turned around and waved at our boy, saying, "I will go back first. Let's talk online if there's anything else to talk about." Han Feng also waved at her and said, "Don't catch a cold." As she turned around, a sinister smile appeared on her face, thinking she hooked him again in her trap. Also, our boy is smiling and thinking she fooled her. In the next scene, the snow covered all the apartments from the outside, and our boy's phone rang again and again. She was asking about the food our boy promised her to deliver. But our boy is having a fabulous dinner in his warm apartment by himself, enjoying the meal and saying this weather is perfect for such nice and warm food like this. The scene changes. Our boy was sitting at the table eating and thinking about the numerous experiments during the past few days. Allowed him to confirm two things. First, meat cannot be expanded limitlessly. Second, like soybeans, meat can be reproduced limitlessly. He made so many meat pieces from just one piece, and every time a stalk of beans sprouted, he would use half of it to grow more beans again. He would only consume half of it. Under the two kinds of light, half a piece of steak with a few soybeans can produce a full piece of steak, and the same process will yield more and more steak. He conducted numerous tests after that as well. Now he shouldn't have to worry about having nothing to eat in the future. Then he saw a news where a news reporter covering the snowstorm and telling viewers it was August 2nd, the 19th day of the snowstorm. I am now on Bodu Hithi Island in the Maldives. The average temperature here has dropped to -42 degrees. The entire island has almost completely been engulfed by ice and snow. Even the ocean is freezing up at a speed that can be observed with human eyes. According to experts, the ice layer has already reached 55 centimeters in depth. Our boy watching the news and thinking the real situation is far worse than what the media is portraying. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a blast. He looked out the window. He saw an explosion. Han Feng said, "This is already the 7th explosion in the past few days. What exactly is happening out there?" Then, He saw dozens of military helicopters in the air. He closed the windows curtain, and thinking about the situation outside is also a cause for panic for the owners. In the basement car park, the owners are trading for necessary goods and food supplies. But there are also many owners taking this opportunity to take advantage of others, which has led to several conflicts. In the group chat, community is telling the owners who have been facing difficulties to go down to the basement car park to receive necessary resources for free. Our boy came from his war apartment to check the situation down there. Suddenly, he was sneezing because he came from a warm room to an extreme cold. He saw owners fighting for food and supplies. People are gathering around for supplies. Our boy was down just to gather information, otherwise he wouldn't have to come down here. He realized before my rebirth there was a rebellion in this neighborhood. If my memory serves me right, it must be related to these people. But they are really giving away resources instead of scamming people. What's going on here? Let's find out the real situation first. Everyone gathered around to the counter where the committee members gave a small amount of supplies and food to everyone. But the number of households facing difficulties are quite high. Suddenly, our boy noticed a man in front of the line shouting about the small amount of food. He was saying, "I handed over several large boxes of resources, and now you are giving me this little food." But the committee members are trying to calm him down by saying everyone is given an equal amount of supplies. The man got more violent and said, "Give me back my supplies, which I donated." The committee member said, "My apologies, but the resources can't be returned to you. The disaster is still ongoing. I hope you can look at the bigger picture here. Once the disaster is over, I will pay you back several times in cash." The man shouted, "Who knows how long this snowstorm will last? I only want the resources that I donated." Then another man shouted from behind, "So annoying, Brother Jang already said that he would compensate you." "Stop being shameless. I think you just want to get more resources." Everyone started shouting, "Get lost after you get your food." Everyone is waiting to eat, trying to take back what you have already given away. How shameless. Our boy was smiling seeing this situation. He knew there was no way that the committee members will give your resources back in this current situation. But to place yourself on a higher moral ground against those who donated more resources, that's really shameless. Then our boy Han Feng heard a familiar voice, that really shameless. "It's Brother Lee," he waved at our boy, saying hi. Han Feng said, "Bro, long time, no see, how have you been?" Lee said in a low voice like he didn't eaten for 2 days. "I'm fine." He was coughing and his face was turning red and blue from the cold. Han Feng noticed his condition and said, "You are far from being fine." Brother Lee put his hand on his stomach and said, "It's difficult to just depend on drinking water to surpass my hunger." Our boy was shocked and asked why you don't have any food left. Brother Lee looked at the counter of the committee and said, "I was thinking of helping the neighbors previously, so I donated most of my resources to the committee. In the end, my food supplies at home ran out before the snowstorm ended, and the resources that the committee was giving out were too little. I would have kept more resources for myself if I had known." Our boy Han Feng suddenly had a great idea. He said, "Brother Lee, can you do me a favor? You just have to tell me what's going on down here in my apartment, and then I will give you 4 packs of instant noodles and 2 sausages." Brother Lee was shocked at such a simple matter. "But you are willing to give me 4 packs of instant noodles and 2 sausages?" Han Feng said, "Yes. Don't think too little of it. I don't have much left in stock either." Brother Lee started crying. "Little bro, you are just looking for an excuse to give me food. I will not forget your grace for the rest of my life." Han Feng smiled and said there was no need for such courtesy between brothers. Brother Lee put his hand on Han Feng's shoulder and said, "Don't worry, little brother. Leave this small matter to me." Han Feng said, "Thanks, bro. Come to my house to take the food late." Brother Lee said, "Sure, then I will go collect my resources first." Han Feng smiled, thinking, "Just a few packs of instant noodles and sausages to settle this matter in this way, and I won't have to come down personally to gather information in the future." Han Feng turned around and started walking towards his apartment, thinking that although I feel a bit sorry for my brother, it's not as important as comfortably lazing on my sofa, eating delicious food and playing games. Suddenly, an angry voice came from the front of Han Feng, and a flying hand slapped our boy's face. It was her, the bitch Hyona, she said in an angry tone. "You have really disappointed me. Why are you not replying to my messages?" Han Feng was surprised and so angry inside by touching his red face, thinking, "Did she just slapped me? I haven't even settled her previous debts yet, but she slapped me for no cause or reason." Our boy was so angry and frustrated at her that he will kill her right now. "Do you really think I'm that easy to bully?" Saying all this in his heart. She said again, "Why aren't you talking to me? Are you deaf?" He took a deep breath and said, "Sorry, Hyona, the situation is like that. My food was stolen." She said, "What, stolen?" He scratched his head and said, "I placed the resources outside my door and went back in to get my keys. But they were gone by the time I came back out." She said, angry tone. "Then, what did you look for it?" "Yes, but we haven't found any clues at all." Suddenly, she changed her face to fake cuteness and said, "Then do you still have resources?" Our boy know where is she going with that line, and he said, "Not much. It will only last me a few days if I only eat 1 meal a day." Then she said without any shame, "That's great, you can split half with me and just eat 1 meal every 2 days then. That way we can both get through this disaster together." Our boy thought how shameless she is to be capable of saying such words. Then he remembered that, right, in your eyes, I'm just a tool for you to see when needed. Our boy had an idea. He suddenly said, "All right, I made a promise with you after all. Let's split it equally." She was surprised. "Really? Thank you, Han Feng. Then can you go bring it down for me now?" Our boy said, "Let's do it later at night. I will send you a message when I am done packing them." She turned away quickly and said, "I will wait for the message. I'm heading back now." "You should also head back soon," she said to Han Feng. "Don't catch the flu." Han Feng waved at her and said, "Wait for me tonight." Then scene changes, the cold is getting worse, and our boy was seeing the messages from Hyona. She was messaging him to deliver the food he promised, and she was sitting in the corridor freezing to death and waiting for Han Feng and thinking, what is Han Feng doing? He's not replying to messages or picking up calls. He's not going to stand me up again, is he? His floor lift has also stopped working. She looked up and started to climb the stairs to get to him, and mumbling in her mouth, "Damn Han Feng, if it weren't for the resources, I wouldn't be looking for you. I'm so tired, I have been starving for a few days." She reached the 16th floor, she said, "Almost there." Suddenly, light of the floor turned off. She was afraid and said, "The emergency light are also broken." She heard a noise from upstairs and looked up. "Who is it?" Suddenly, a black bag came from above and hit her on the face. Boom, it was all went white because it was flour in the bag. Suddenly, lights were on and Han Feng came down saying sorry. "Hyona, I fell asleep. I saw your messages and came running down with the resources. I didn't expect the lights to suddenly switch off. I ran into a railing and dropped the flour. She was so angry at him. Are you pig? You can't even do such a normal thing properly." So disgusting, she tried to remove the flour from her hairs, but it's difficult without washing the hairs. Han Feng knew this all along. He touched his face and smiled, thinking this is something I specially prepared for you. Without any delay, he said, "Here, these are my remaining resources." She forgot about her hair and took the bag from his hand and opened it. She was shocked because the food was rotten and half-eaten. She said, "Aren't all of these already moldy? They look like trash." Han Feng scratched his head and said smilingly, "I had to eat carefully to keep so much of these leftovers in stock." She took a piece of meat outside from the bag and said, "So dirty, is this even edible?" Han Feng quickly grabbed the bag and said, "If you don't like it, give it back." Suddenly, she snatched the bag from him, smiled, and said, "I didn't want it. Who said that?" Han Feng saw her ugly face and thought, "So this is the goddess that I was pursuing with all my might." She grabbed the apple from the bag and said, "The surface has turned black, but the inside should be fine. I should be able to eat it after I peel it from the knife." She snatched the other flour shopper from Han Feng. "Give me the flour too," she said to Han Feng. Looking at the leftover food and smiling greatly, there is still half of it left, and she walked away from him. Our boy is standing and smiling while watching that bitch, Hyona, and thinking this garbage should be enough to give you an upset stomach for a few days. Our beau turned around and started walking toward his apartment and mumbling, "You can't even shower in this weather, so just let that flour on you for a while." Han Feng was going to his apartment, and suddenly he sensed someone watching from behind. He hid behind the door and waited for the person to appear, and when that person stepped inside the corridor, our boy grabbed him and took him down by saying, seeking death. He was shocked when he saw it was a girl. "Hey, are you following me? What are your intentions?" The girl was lying down, not saying anything. "Han Feng said you don't want to say it, right?" He put his hand on her, trying to scare her. "If you don't tell me, I will strip you naked." Even then, she didn't say anything to him. Then Han Feng said, "Forget it, I'll let you go this time." He turned around and then started walking towards his apartment and said to her, thinking she was just a kid, "Go home, stop playing pranks." Suddenly, she grabbed him and stopped him from behind. Han Feng looked back and said, "Stop staring at me like this. If you don't say anything, I'll leave." She pointed her finger to her apartment and pulled him to go with her. He went with her to her apartment and looked around. There were so many food items and boxes and a warm house. He was surprised and asked her, "Did you know there would be a snowstorm?" She didn't say anything and started to change her clothes, and suddenly she said it was just a calculation result. "This is an ice age. There is a suing in the group." "So you are the person in the group who was talking about the ice apocalypse? Amazing. But you brought me to your house to talk about this?" Then she pointed her finger to the screens in front of them. Han Feng looked at the screen, and what he saw, he was shocked. There were all the videos of him when he was storing the food and collecting gas cylinders, and also the footage of when he collected the sniper from Brother Lee. He said to her, "Are you spying on me?" Again, she didn't say anything and started to change her clothes. Our boy started shouting, "Why are you taking your clothes off suddenly?" "No, sorry, that wasn't what I meant." Our boy started to think naughty thoughts in his mind. "Stop taking clothes off, put your pants on." In the next scene, they were sitting on the sofa together. "So," Han Feng said to her, "you were spying on me because you became suspicious of my stockpiling of supplies before the snow. So the main purpose of monitoring me is to confirm whether there is a possibility of cooperation between us." Again, she didn't say anything and started to work on her laptop. She is like a nerd with glasses. Our boy is looking at her and thinking, why isn't she saying anything? Suddenly, she started climbing onto his legs. Our boy started feeling her and said, "What are you doing?" She pointed her hand to the generator and said, "Teach me how to use this generator." Then he taught her how to use the generator and said to her, "Anything else?" She pointed her finger to the direction where the geyser was. Then he taught her how to use the geyser and said, "By adjusting this value, you will get hot water. But remember to close the valve after use. Then he started to clean her room and adjusting her food in the freezer. He said to her in an angry voice that raw meat must be stored in the freezer and it must be unpacked. "You are being too reckless. And don't just look, help me also." He taught her how to use a gas cylinder. "Be sure to pay attention to safety when connecting gas and read my steps carefully." Then he started to teach her how to cook properly. Only when there is enough gas can the fire be big and the dishes cooked out be delicious. Check if the meal is ready. If it's green, it's ready. They made a delicious food and ate it together. Our boy put his hand on his face and said to himself, "I feel like I'm a full-time babysitter. Your self-care ability is too poor." She didn't say anything and started eating. Han Feng was afraid a little, but because she had his videos, suddenly he said I was kidding. He also started eating and feeling tired. He said to her, "Let me make it clear first, I will go back after eating." While he was saying he saw that she fell asleep while eating, he said I can also fall asleep even while eating. He put her on the sofa, put a blanket on her, put on his jacket, and closed the door behind him. On the next day, there was a knock on the door. Our boy came out and said, "What's going on so early in the morning?" It was her again at the door. She brought some boxes with her and said, "This is for you." Our boy was shocked by so many boxes and said to her, "You are too polite." She was looking strangely at him, and he asked if you needed anything else. She pointed her finger at the generator and said to him, "Can you teach me one more time?" Our boy said, "Okay." After a few days of contact, our boy was sure that the girl who lived upstairs from him was an absolute idiot in life. She also has a lot of common sense lacking. She seemed to want to learn about life and would drag him to her home every day to teach her. Her cooking skill is considered to be an improvement. Han Feng thought, but even with this kind of food, many people are still rushing to eat it. Under normal circumstances, I guess even dogs wouldn't eat it. Suddenly, our boy said, "By the way, I haven't asked your name." She said this while eating the evil king's True Eye envoy, just like a game profile name. Han Feng said, "Well, I won't ask anything." On the other side, at the community resources counter, everyone took charge and rushed to gather the supplies. All the people from the neighbors were fighting each other for food. In the basement of the apartment complex, people are fighting over the resources, battling over their claims. Divided, it doesn't matter who the real owner is, the one last standing will be the one to take it all. As such, no one hesitates to hurt the others. Blood drips all over the place, and suddenly, a man in white pants who is watching over the war is none other than Zhang. He uses the microphone to startle everyone who is fighting, making them stop due to the loud screech of the noise. Now everyone's attention is drawn towards him. He speaks to the microphone, asking if you guys fought enough. He said, "Because of these few remaining resources, you are fighting to the death. Don't you find it ridiculous?" Everyone was so furious and frustrated, they said in anger, "You have the nerve to say such a thing? You were the one who suggested donating our resources. We only get to receive a packet of instant noodles every few days. That's right. If we don't fight for it, we are going to freaking starve to death." Mr. Zhang scratched his head and said, "Let's see, because the resources distributed isn't enough, and the donated resources have run out. So you have to fight for the last remaining resources." How ridiculous. Don't you deserve to starve to death? All of you think about it carefully. Who is the one who caused such a situation? Everyone said it's because of you, damn it. Mr. Zhang grabbed the bread from the floor and said, "I don't think so. Come, let me help you remember." This bread was originally a few dollars. Those with abundant resources raised it to tens or even hundreds of dollars. To squeeze all of you dry, then he squeezed the piece of bread, and it was split into 5 or 10 pieces to the ground. They managed to get rich using this disaster. As for all of you, not only did you use up all your money, now you are even having internal strife due to these few remaining resources? Isn't that ridiculous? They are the ones who have plenty of resources but did not donate any. They are the ones who raised the prices with magic. But we are the ones who are going to starve to death? Is that fair? He raised his voice and said, "What should we be doing right now? Shouldn't we stand united and get back the resources that belong to us?" Everyone realized that he was right. Why are they the ones getting all the benefits, while we are the ones who have to starve to death? It's all their fault. They are the ones who did this to us. We need to get back our share of resources. Right. We are just taking back the share that belongs to us. Mr. Jiang smiled silently. He had planned this from the beginning. In the crowd, Brother Li was also listening to this shit and quickly grabbed his phone because he has to inform Han Feng. About this situation, something big is about to happen. On the other side, our boy was sitting on the sofa relaxing and reading books. He picked up the phone and saw Brother Li's messages. "Little bro, there's big trouble. These people have gone mad. They are going to snatch resources." Han Feng asked, "Who?" Brother Li replied, "The one with the surname Jiang. He is inciting the owners to snatch resources from others. They are going from door to door right now." Han Feng was shocked right now. Quickly, he closes all the locks on the door and put down the curtains. Brother Li also informed him that they all have weapons with them. "Just hide if you can, don't face them head on." Han Feng also worried about him and said, "I understand, bro, take care of yourself as well." I didn't expect things to turn out this way, although I brought 2 guns in case of a crisis. If it's such an organized operation and my resources were to be revealed facing those crazy neighbors, they will definitely eat me up, leaving nothing but bones. He looked into the room where he stored all his resources, thinking, I need to be prepared for it. He grabbed some tools and a fire extinguisher in his hand. He barricaded his door and put some traps in his room. While he is busy in his preparations, the electricity suddenly shuts off. Everyone panicked about the sudden power outage. They all tried contacting the management about it. But when they saw that the other apartment complex was also facing the same issue, they realized it is a total outage. But our boy knew this. With the snowstorm and the overload usage of power trying to keep warm, this would have happened sooner or later. Temperatures outside made it impossible for any maintenance, which means the power failure and signal loss. This time might be permanent. As such, our boy started fueling up his generator. He will now start using them for electricity once the other owner realizes the power is never coming back. Those feelings of panic will lead to even more serious rebellion, and that is when the real hell begins. Going back to a few minutes ago, we see Hyona eating some instant noodles like a stray dog. As it turns out, she is inside one of the wealthy men's houses. This rich boy states that he mentioned in the group chat that he would buy all resources at 50 times the market price, boasting about his wealth. He said, I only spent $500,000 for all these resources. I also took out some of them to auction for a high price. All those paupers were fighting to buy them from me, and I managed to earn quite a bit. Hyona doesn't really care about all his yapping and is just enjoying the meal that she's eating. He touched her face and asked, How is it? Following me was the correct choice, right? She makes a sweet smile and nodded to his question. The wealthy dude knows that as long as I have resources, I will be able to do anything I want with this girl. Suddenly, he hears a commotion happening outside his door. The people have already started opening houses. Of the tenants raiding them for their supplies, the wealthy man goes over his door to drop what's happening outside. He hears that some people are rattling on him for buying plenty of supplies from his neighbors and raising their prices when reselling, then they began kicking. The man's door opened and this dude was knocked back by the force sweat immediately drips down his face, sensing the trouble that he's in. He peeps on his peephole and sees a bunch of angry mobs carrying weapons with them. After a day, the situation outside is getting worse. At our boy's apartment, we can see a fireplace, a generator, and some wires. Our boy Han Feng setting a trap on the door lock so he can protect himself from intruders. He is setting up a trap with live wires so that when anyone comes to open his door, they will get electrified. But unfortunately, our boy has no experience with electronic work. He tested the wires with a meter and said, Strange why there is no power. Suddenly, an explosion happened on the wires and our boy went back a little. He grabbed the wire, waved his hand to clear the smoke and said, It would be better if the internet was working. I will get some information about attaching these wires. Suddenly, he heard a knock on the door. Who is knocking at this time? He checked from the peephole before opening the door. He didn't see any face at first, just hairs, he thought. This height and this ugly hair. It must be her. It was the young girl from the neighborhood. She said, Help me. Please open the door. He said, What are you doing here again? Damn, it's really troublesome when I am busy. He grabbed the door handle and was about to open the door. Suddenly, he remembered what happened the last time he opened the door. He quickly let go of the handle and said to her, "I heard the news that neighbors were breaking into houses and stealing supplies. So I won't open the door. Quickly go back to your apartment." Han Feng remembered the last time he opened the door he got killed. So this time he will not make that mistake again. But after listening to Han Feng's answer, she didn't leave the door. She knocked again and again. Finally, she sat down in the corridor. The weather was getting worse, even in the corridor. Ice was freezing in the corners and on the ceiling. Han Feng said to her, "Hurry up before the others will find you." Suddenly, she heard some voices coming from the stairs. They were discussing, "How many households are there on the 18th floor?" Others said, "Who cares? Just go one by one." The people who were going to houses and robbing them came to the 18th floor where Han Feng lived. They saw all the doors were closed on this floor and silent. One of them said, "I think that no one has come to this floor yet." There were 4 of them, and 2 of them said, "The 2 households there belong to us." They were pointing at our boy's apartment. One of them stood in front of Han Feng's house and said to the other, "Give me the crowbar." Thankfully, our boy grabbed that little girl inside before the intruders saw her. He placed her hand on her mouth so she would not make any sound. The people outside were saying tricky words. "Hey, open the door. We are here to deliver supplies." They were knocking on the door and trying to open the door. The little girl was worried, Han Feng said. "Don't worry, my door is reinforced." She calms down a little. The people outside tried their best to open the door. How come this door is so strong? Even the door handle can't be broken by kicking. The other person said, "Brother, why don't we break into the house next door first?" "Let's go mark this one." Han Feng remembered, "Thank goodness I focused on reinforcing the door and the handle." He specifically instructed the master to add 5 centimeters of steel plate inside the door and reinforce the door handle. Suddenly he remembered he had to release the mouth of the girls he was holding. "Sorry, I was afraid they would notice that there were people in the house." She said, "Thanks for saving me." After some time, Han Feng listened. Outside, there was no noise outside. He said, "Wait till I fix this thing. If anyone dares to kick my home again, they will get electrocuted." She asked, "What is this?" Han Feng said, "You won't understand this defensive measure against electric shock." "I don't understand why this damn electric shock device is so difficult to use." She said the anti-theft device uses the difference between electric current and voltage. Very simple. Han Feng was shocked when she told him that, "What do you know about this?" Then she started to teach him how to install this device. After powering off, wrap the bare wires of the electric wires around the door handle to insulate them. Then connect the ground wire of the distribution box to the door handle. Finally, turn on the power again. Then he checked and said, "Really, the device is working now?" He asked curiously, "How do you know this?" Again, she didn't answer his question and said, "The evil king's true eye has the ability to see all the truth in the world." "Stop that. I didn't ask this. Forget it." He grabbed the metal toolbox and wire and headed back to his sofa. He said to her, "Sit down, and if you need any help, just tell me." She pulled her shirt up and put all her toys and phone on the sofa. Han Feng was angry. "Hey, I asked you why you were here." She said in a deep voice, "The evil king's true eye will reside here." "What?" Han Feng was shocked. "Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. You are not staying here. You get back now." Han Feng tried to move toward her, but the wire in his hand was tangled around his legs with the metal toolbox in his hand. He fell down on the table in front of him. "It hurts," Han Feng said in the pain. But suddenly he saw a purple light emerging from both of his hands. He realized it didn't hurt, but the table in front of him turned into a soft cloth. Han Feng was surprised by what happened to my coffee table. Could it be that this purple light turned the coffee table into this? He grabbed the table and moved it aside. He looked at the metal box. It was also softened. He realized this purple light can make objects soft. Suddenly, he remembered the girl was sitting in front of him. "Oops, I forgot there's someone else at home." As he began to sweat bullets, on the other hand, the girl watched the entire scene without uttering a word like she always does. She was confused and speechless about what she just witnessed. The girl continued to simply stare at Han Feng for a considerable amount of time. silent and expressionless. Then suddenly she got up with her laptop in hand, her eyes sparking with excitement and wonder. Is he also the messenger chosen by the evil king's true eye? She questioned herself with evident curiosity, and Han Feng was dumbfounded by her sudden behavior. Because it was not typical behavior, any person who'd witnessed such a weird and freaking scene would naturally exhibit it, but this could be a good thing that could work in Han Feng's favor. He quickly got his act together and improvised by striking a pose with his jelly-like hammer in one hand and the other on his face and said, "Yes, that's right. I am also a subordinate chosen by the evil boss, so this strange phenomenon often occurs inwardly." He thought the girl had a very strange way of thinking, so he believed he could get away with it. But what happened after left him in a bit of a pickle. The girl simply stretched out her hand, and as Han Feng with a confused demeanor did the same. She told Han Feng that since they were both messengers chosen by the evil king's true eye, then they should support each other, and the current resting room they were in should be shared. Room sharing. It took a moment for Han Feng to realize that what she meant by the resting room was his apartment. Han Feng helplessly with his head and eyes lowered, and before he could finish explaining himself as to why he was not having a roommate, the girl had already reached the door to the other room behind Han Feng and was accompanied by a loud thud from the shutting door. Han Feng's eyes widen when he realizes that the girl had already left and was inside the other room behind him. "Hey, I haven't agreed yet. Do you really think this is the evil king's lair?" he said. "Oh, forget it." Han Feng decided to let her be. His immediate priority was his purple glowing hand a while ago, so as he stares at the jelly-like hammer in his hand, he wondered silently, what was that purple light just now? Can it make things softer? It seems that I have more than those two kinds of light, but if there are others just like this purple light that I hadn't discovered, then I wonder just how many there are anyway. I should investigate the purple light first. Han Feng closed his eyes and tried to summon his purple glowing hand, but nothing. He then began to recall trying to analyze the situation that led to that outcome. The purple light appeared when I was tripped by the wire and about to hit the coffee table. Recalling all this gave Han Feng an idea, so as he held on to the wires, Han Feng tried to remember the feeling he had at that time, the feeling of being in a dangerous situation. And just like that, Han Feng was stunned to see his hands glowing with purple light. It's out. It actually worked, just recalling the dangerous situation. Just now, the purple light appeared. Han Feng said this, a little taken aback at that moment. Something else also got his attention. Wait, does this purple light also have an effect on the wires that are right in his hand? The wires had also turned into a jelly-like substance with this new development. Han Feng knew that the purple light might have a large range of things it could affect, and there might be more to it than just making things soft. So Han Feng immediately heads to his kitchen, deciding to try it on something else. Han Feng grabbed a large kitchen knife, closed his eyes, and prepared himself to summon the purple light. Seconds after he succeeded in his summoning, the purple light immediately took effect, softening the knife. "It works on steel, too, and the texture is like jelly," he commented in amazement. So after a while, Han Feng had successfully tried the purple light on various items he could think of, such as his fork, spoon, a glass cup, and many others. After all this, he realized that apart from turning things to jelly, there was no other changes, and the longer the purple light was used, the more the object will be softened. This effect was too useless and could not help him in any way, he thought. But then he suddenly had enlightenment. Han Feng thought of mixing two kinds of light just like he did with the red light. Then he might achieve an unexpected result. Han Feng summoned his green light in his right hand and with the purple light on his left hand. He tried to forcefully change the texture of his jelly-like spoon, but it resulted in failure, so he took the kitchen knife, and with effort, he tried it in a different way. Han Feng expanded both lights around the entire knife. The results was a success, and not only that, because the kitchen knife didn't just change back to its previous state, but was hardened and refined to a degree that it was unbelievably sharp. This surprised Han Feng. Greatly staring at the items on the table, Han Feng gave it another try, and after several attempts he had confidently confirmed a theory he thought of. So that's how it is if the two kinds of light are mixed. They can change the toughness of matter, and the hardness is a bit exaggerated in this new development. Gave Han Feng an idea, a very bold one meanwhile, outside his apartment. On the flight of stairs, two homeowners who had recently raided for supplies were discussing whether to hand them over like they're supposed to. The one behind asked curiously, "Hey man, you're not really planning on handing over the looted supplies soon, are you? I don't even have enough to eat myself." The other replied that if we hand them over, they have to share it with the women and the old people. "You're right, but if we do this, we must keep this a secret. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble if anyone finds out at this moment that one had told the other to look behind him." Puzzled, the other questioned what he was referring to as he curiously turned around when he made his expression. Immediately changed with his flashlight, illuminating the entire area thick. The concrete wall behind them was sort of moving, and this could be easily spotted as the 18th floor written on it was moving as well. "The wall is creeping," he said suddenly. A human face appeared on it, and as the form became clearer, it came really close, about a breath away from the frightful homeowners, who was about seconds away from wetting his pants. The figure took the shape of a ghostly figure. "There is a ghost on this floor, scared shitless." The two simultaneously said this, shaking profusely, and immediately made a run for it with their supplies. On the other hand, the supposed ghost on the wall was struggling to free itself because it was finding it hard to breathe. On the other side of the wall was Han Feng, who was struggling to get a grip on hardening. The wall, due to the size of the wall, Han Feng was finding it difficult to merge the two lights together. When he finally succeeded in covering the entire section of the wall with the two lights, they fused together naturally. Then, after a few seconds of mixing both lights with the jelly wall, it hardened immediately after completion. Han Feng was worn out, panting like he'd run a marathon. His next step was to test its durability, so he took out a long sledgehammer, thinking that it was time to check the results of the hardening. Han Feng raised his long sledgehammer with a fierce determination. In his eyes, he struck the sledgehammer on the wall. He then continued to repeat the process over and over and over again as the sounds echoed through the heavy snowstorm outside for a while. Later, Han Feng was exhausted and with his trembling hands laughed in joy. The results were promising because after he had constantly beaten the wall, not even a piece was broken off. Meanwhile, in the underground parking lot, the guy from earlier brought in the supplies he'd raided with a nervous smile. He scratched the back of his head and apologized, saying that many homeowners were basically out of food, so these were the only supplies he collected. At that moment, someone grabbed his shoulder, surprising him, and before he could get a word out, he was forcefully pinned to the ground. The person responsible for his subduing was none other than Jin Qinhua. And in a cold tone, Jinwen loudly asked him to disclose where he hid all the food he stole. "What are you talking about? Everything I stole from the other homeowners is here." As the crowd just simply watches the entire exchange, "The guy is clearly in pain," answered as he shook profusely. "Stop lying to me. Jinwen said I saw you take 3 big bags just now, but you only handed in 1. Then you must have seen it wrong. I swear I brought everything." The guy stuck to his story as Jinwen added a little pressure to his arm, intensifying his pain, it seems. "If you intend on not saying anything right, then I'll just have to beat it out of you. Maybe then you'll behave yourself and tell the truth," gritting his teeth in frustration. Jinwen clearly had enough of the guy's pretense and was about to carry out his threat, when someone cut in at that very moment, surprising him. This person was none other than the leader of the community, who gently grabbed his arm, signaling him to halt his actions. Jinwen is a bit puzzled and asks him why he was stopping him, but Jiang just simply told him to let the guy go first. "If you have any questions, they can talk about it." "But this guy hid everyone's food," Jinwen retorted, still a bit puzzled. Jiang replied that he knows everything, so he should just leave it to him. Hearing this, he agreed without any hesitation. Then he let go of the old guy immediately, after commenting that he was only doing this for Jiang Sake. Jiang extended his hand, offering the guy a helping hand. "It's okay," he said. So with a warm smile, Jiang continued. Then, almost like magic, the guy brought in the other 2 bags of supplies a while later from wherever he hid them. The guy apologized to Jiang, explaining that there were 5 people in his family, and the food they shared was really not enough. But Jiang once again cut in, giving the guy his rations for the day. He told the guy that his family needed it more than he does, and this of course shocked the guy greatly. He asked why Jiang was doing this. What will he eat? Rules are rules. Whatever is collected must be handed in, and then a fixed quota is given according to the number of people. But I also understand your difficulties, so you can quickly take this back to your family. Hearing this made the guy emotional, nearly bringing him to tears. As he began to shake, he was grateful for Jiang's generosity. So as he was leaving, he loudly said to Jiang that from now on, if Jiang has any problems at all, he should just tell him Old Wang and he will do everything in his power to help. Jiang replied with a laugh when he heard this. He then said to Old Wang that if he happens to encounter any difficulties in the future, letting him know will be the right thing to do. He then turned to the crowd with the 2 bags of supplies in hand. "Everyone, please come receive your rations for today and go home as soon as possible." Hearing this, the crowd was grateful and amazed by Jiang's behavior, agreed, and did as he said so. As the crowd gathered around Jiang, he handed the supplies to the Jin brothers, who asked him curiously, "Mr. Jiang, how did you get him to hand over the hidden food? Yes? How did you do that?" He was so willing all of a sudden, too. Also, why did you have to share your rations with him? Maintaining his smile. Jiang replied that the fact of the matter is what he really did was nothing special other than made the guy understand the truth. This only piqued the brothers' interests some more, so they simultaneously asked what the truth was. Jiang pushed up his glasses and replied that, "In the history of the country, there have been several riots and conflicts caused by conflicts of interests between different classes. But this nature will be defined as social collective behavior, and as long as they are not caught on the spot, participants will not be convicted. So I just told him that if he breaks the rules, the group will not accept him and he will be just an outcast and a thief with no one to turn to. If he needed help, and if anything were to happen to him, no one actually knows whether the law would settle the matter when the disaster is over. But before that, they will face revenge from the owners whose properties were robbed." Hearing this, everyone was surprised and once again amazed at Jiang. "Oh, I see it now, so that was it." Uncle Lu, who was resting in a corner not far away, heard the entire discussion and thought to himself that Jiang may have a point, but among those rioting groups, there is often a leader who directs the actions. There will always be heroes and villains in troubled times, and this guy Jiang Shuo was no ordinary guy. Meanwhile, on the 18th floor in Han Fang's apartment, things were progressing, as it was previously shown after sorting out the effectiveness of the purple light on the wall. Han Feng had shifted his focus to his glass window, and with the same process of hardening, he was now checking the toughness of his glass window. Han Feng had struck the glass window repeatedly, until he was out of breath, and from the looks of it, the glass was as tough as the hardening wall because Han Feng had not made a crack on the glass after his repeated attempts, so as he stared breathlessly at the heavy hammer in his hand. Han Feng thought that now that the whole apartment has been strengthened and the hardness has been confirmed, his next step should be his thoughts were immediately cut off by a sudden knock on his door, curious as to who it might be. Han Feng headed to his apartment door in a careful manner. He needed not to have a similar incident as earlier. He also even thought that it might be another homeowner coming to steal his supplies. But as he peeps through the peephole in his door, he was surprised to see none other than Bitch and her crazy curves. And what was more important was that the current situation was identical to the scene from his previous life that led to his death. It had the same setting indeed. This was the time Han Feng would get his revenge. Hyona, shaking profusely, told Han Feng that it was her. "I have thought it through these days." Hyona read her script identical to what she said in Han Fang's previous life. "I cannot let you down. Only in times of trouble can one understand true love, and only those who truly love me will give me their all unconditionally. If you don't believe me, open the door and touch my heart." This, of course, made Han Feng recall everything that happened at this point in his previous life. It's exactly the same words as that day he thought that means that besides her, that man is also outside the door. Finally, I can finally get what I have been waiting for. I just need to shoot these two bastards to death. Han Feng quickly left his apartment door, rushing to get his rifle, but as he got closer within a touching distance, he halted in his tracks. "Wait, there's a power outage. Now the enemy is in the dark, and I'm in the light. If I can't kill them with one strike, I might get killed again if I use the electric shock. Then I have to trick them into holding the door handle at the same time, which is impossible, and I'm not sure how effective this electric shock is." Thinking of all this, Han Feng tried to calm down. He had been waiting for this moment. And finally, it was here. He needed to calm down and think this through. But first he had to sort out the current situation about the light, so Han Feng quietly turned off his generator, and then he closed his eyes with his hands leisurely. Resting on the heavy hammer handle, focused, and as he calmed himself, thought the biggest threat to me now is not Hyona, but the man hiding in the dark. So if I go out there, I have to instantly locate him and also give him a fatal blow in the process. This might be to my disadvantage because if I make one wrong move, it's over. Okay, so how can I determine his location in advance? In the apartment. I remember the guy should be hiding in the corner behind my door, and that place is a blind area in my previous life. The attack came from this direction, so it's probably here at this spot, although it will take some time, but it might work with a bit of luck. Han Feng quietly and carefully activated his purple light as he touched the wall. Meanwhile, outside his apartment's door, Hyona, on the other hand, wondered why there was no response, so she asked again in a hopeful manner, "Han Feng, are you still there? Please open the door, Han Feng." The guy who waited patiently in the blind spot with his iron bat, he asked Hyona, "Hey, is this guy as worth our efforts?" "Yes," Hyona replied. He still had some supplies left, and it occurred to me a while ago that he had bought a truckload of goods the day before the disaster. Hearing this made the guy smirk. He was clearly pleased to hear this. "Oh, then this guy is enough for us to eat for many days." Unbeknownst to him, a portion of the wall not far away behind him was covered with purple light and began to move. Then something also began to form immediately after. So little by little, the form took shape, and as it did, it took the shape of a hand. But at this moment, the guy heard some sound, so he whispered, asking Hyona if she'd heard something. "No, I didn't hear anything." "What sound? I seemed to hear something behind me." As he said this, the guy turned his head to take a look behind him, and as he did, what followed immediately after was a massive smack on his cheek. As a lot of blood splashed from his mouth, he may have lost some teeth too, accompanied by a loud bang. He crushed heavily on the ground in an instant, letting go of his iron bat. Hyona was shocked momentarily, speechless. Seeing this, and as she got her act together, she asked the guy what was wrong. But as the guy laid on the floor, trembling all over and unable to respond, Hyona told him not to scare her. What was wrong in this moment? Han Feng's apartment door opened with a click, and as Hyona turned to look, she was met with a fire extinguisher. Han Feng released the visibly white gas in the fire extinguisher directly on Hyeon's face as she screamed in pain. As the door opens, Han Feng throws the invisible gas spray of an extinguisher on her face. She requested him to stop spraying. It is seizing her throat. She starts coughing weirdly. Gas has spread all around. She sits down and tries to calm down herself. Among the rising gas, she looks with one eye that the guy along with her is laid down. It seems as if he is suffering from severe pain, and he has almost lost his front teeth. It seems as if he is in a deplorable state. He requests her to help him. She tries to console the guy, but suddenly Han Feng opens the door and extends his arm to grab her in a foggy area. He almost succeeds in grabbing her, but fortunately she slips and succeeds in running away. While running in the building corridor, she shrieks for help. Han Feng looks at her soulfully. It seems as if he is going to burst out with anger. After some time, gas almost vanished. He looked in the hallway, but she had escaped quite quickly. The guy there screams with pain and he tries to make himself stand, but Hang Feng gives a forceful kick to his gut. The poor bastard spits the saliva. He asks the guy who has made him get up. His condition is totally miserable. He requests Hang Feng to wait a minute and listen to him. His body is trembling. He asks Hang Feng if he knows about his father. If he dares to touch him again, he will punish and cut off the word. He also asks Hang Feng what is wrong with him, without listening to him completely. Han Feng gives a fatal blow on his face and he falls down. He says that he does not care about his father. He gives a knee strike on his chin and hits him badly. The guy has been laid down. He calls him elder brother and requests to wait for a minute. He says that he has no grievances or enmities with him. Why is he beating him woefully? Hang Feng sits atop the chest. His words make Han Feng more blatant. He gives a forceful punch on his face, and the guy spits blood. Then he smashes more punches brutally and asks the guy if his life is so cheap. Why did they want to kill him? After delivering the brutal punches, he suddenly stopped and leaves aside. The guys seem totally lost. Brutal beating has made him senseless and he is almost near to death. His face is spotted with blood. His half-opened eyes are requesting pity. Hang Feng picks up the baseball bat and approaches him. The guy is requesting for a reason. His eyes burst into tears, but Han Feng's anger is not setting down, as he asked for the reason. Han Feng gnashes his teeth and strikes with the bat. He calls him so pretentious. Smashing the guy badly makes the Hang Feng tired. He asks the guy, did he ask the reason when he killed him? Suddenly, his facial expressions change and feels anti-peristaltic movement. His eyes get broadened. He holds his mouth but fails to stop. He leans down and spits out the vomit. Suddenly, he hears the footsteps of someone behind him. He turns back and looks at her with one eye. It is a little young girl. She asks him if he needs any help. They both go to the room. The girl is drinking juice. Hang Feng seems lost in a thought. He thinks that she saw that horrific scene that occurred a while ago, but she isn't showing any reaction. This girl is a little scary. He says to himself that it is not better to let her stay in his house. The room is filled with a huge storage of edibles. He says her calmly that those people may come back for revenge at any time and she will be implicated if she stays there. The girl seems not so frightened. She drank the sip of juice and gives a satisfied expression. He asks her again if she agreed or not. Pointing to her, he says that he is doing this for her own good. She refuses and says that she does not want to leave the place. She wants to stay there. Hang Feng seems blank at her words. He again assures her that it is dangerous to stay there. They both might die. She took a pause and placed the juice glass on the table. The edibles are scattered here and there. She abruptly stands up and replies that he should not be worried. The evil king's true eye will help him. The girl wearing the slippers moves towards the door and tells politely that the evil king's energy is running out and he needs to go into hibernation. Hang Feng hopelessly drops the neck. It seems as if he is confused for something. He immediately stands up and before leaving the room grabs her arm. He calls her to wait a moment. He says that she should not keep trying to evade him with her immature remarks. He is talking to him about the real issues. She looks at her arms for a while and asks ruthlessly what she should do. Hang Feng gets a little shocked at her words. He asks her about her next plan. She opens the door and leaves the room. Hang Feng looks at her with the blank expression on his face. He finds himself blank before her. It is the parking lot, outside the building. There is a huge gathering of people came there to avail supplies. An announcement is made for the people. The neighbors who have received their supplies should not linger in the parking lot and make way for neighbors who have not received supplies. It is almost dark all around. Just a little light is sparkling on the table of the distributor. The people have packed themselves carefully due to the severe cold. A girl wearing a link jacket is also standing in the queue. Her name is Lu, and she tells the distributor about her address, building 4, number 601 and 1 household. The distributor gives her a bun. The other guy sitting in the chair jots down her details. She leaves the queue and returns. The meal deliverer asks the 601 if he just received the meal. Silently, Liu leaves the place. She thinks about the beaten guy that he didn't come back all night, and why did he suddenly collapse? She asks herself if it was Hang Feng who did it and set up a trap in advance for them. But what she cares more about is when Hang Feng opened the door, there was a faint glow and warm current in the house indicating that he had something to generate electricity. These questions arise in her mind. Did he prepare for the snowstorm in advance to enlighten his room? It might also be possible he also prepared a lot of supplies. She uses aisle words for Hang Feng and calls him a bastard. He secretly made cold weather preparations without telling her and gave her unwanted garbage. She says that she needs to find time as soon as possible to check the situation at that bastard's home. She seems irritated with Hang Feng. While talking to herself, she hits a guy walking nearby. Tall guy said, "Hey, wait!" Hyona stopped and looked at him, but it was a little dark in the parking lot. So the tall guy flashed the light on her face and said, "Aren't you Hyona?" The tall guy said, "Hyona, it's you. We have a fire pot in the lobby of Building 5. Would you like to come and warm up?" Hyona turned around and said coldly, "No, I want to go home and warm up." She declined the offer because she knew they had nothing to offer her. Even in this situation, her attitude is still there. But the tall guy grabbed her arm and said, "I have a lot of food. Come to my house and stay with me for a few days." He came too close to her face and said, "Think about it, I've always liked your style." Hyona pushed him back and said loudly, "Get lost. Who do you think I am? Who cares about your garbage?" The guy was furious after listening to her nonsense. He grabbed her arm tightly and said angrily, "Why are you pretending? You're shamelessly going to claim supplies. Do you really think no one sees you? Do you think you can pretend to be a member of the Property Management Committee? Believe it or not, I will expose it for you. Hyona said you are hurting me. Let me go." Other people also heard that and started talking. Impersonating to claim supplies? Did I hear correctly? It seems to be talking about that women over there. Hyona was afraid of other people if they figured out that she was taking other people's supplies by using their names. She instantly punched him with the food she was eating and said angrily, "Let me go, you bastard!" After being hit by a woman, the man was angry and was about to hit her with a flashlight he was holding. But suddenly he got slapped by someone so hard he got smashed into a wall which was a few meters away from him. Everyone was shocked at what happened. What flew by? It seems like someone is causing trouble. Is there a fight? Go and call Mr. Jiang over. The person who slapped that guy was none other than the gorgeous nurse Jin. She smiled and asked Hyona, "Are you okay? Are there any injuries? Are you feeling unwell somewhere?" She was a head nurse in the hospital and she cares about everyone in this building, not caring about herself. Hyona said, No, thank you, I'm okay." Nurse Jin said, "Here you go, this is my business card. If you feel uncomfortable, you can come to me." Hyona was worried about others and that no one would see her like that, so she tried to hide her face with her scarf. Suddenly, the man grabbed Jin by her collar and pushed her to the ground and said, "You smelly bitch, mind your own fucking business. Believe it or not, I will kill you." He was about to punch her, but suddenly someone grabbed him and pushed him down to the ground. He was none other than Brother Lee. He stood on the guy and said, "You are the most disgusting male dog that beats women." Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind them. It was Mr. Jiang saying to everyone, "Please give way and let me see." The man stood up and started shouting at Hyona. He said, "Mr. John, this woman is claiming other people's supplies. I saw her hanging out with rich second generation who was driving up prices before." Hyona was scared and shivered and said, "I didn't." When Brother Lee heard this, he got angry again and said, "How dare you, a bastard who beats a woman, complain to me?" Before he could grab the man, Mr. Jiang grabbed him and said angrily, "What do you think the Property Management Committee is? Protecting the vulnerable groups and ensuring that everyone has enough food to eat is our duty and responsibility." The man got scared and said, "I am sorry, Mr. Jiang, I was wrong." Then Mr. Jiang left him over there and said, "Leave and don't do this next time." Hyona was standing quietly and not saying anything but just watching Mr. Jiang. Then the next moment, Mr. Jiang came close to Brother Lee and Jin. "Sorry for scaring you two. Are you two not going to consider what is said before?" He was talking about joining his community in which the people are stealing food from other households. Brother Lee turned around and said in a low voice, "I have no interest in a gang robbery. I would rather starve to death than join you." His face was so thin, like he didn't have any food to eat. Jin also said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Jang. I still can't accept this method. If you have patients here, I can still help." Mr. Jang said with a smile, "Well, thank you, Miss Jin. We don't have any patients for now." When they left Mr. Jang, Hyuna came close and said, "Brother Jang, may I join you?" She grabbed his arms, leaned onto him, and said, "Actually, I have always admired you, but unfortunately, I never had the chance. Because she has nothing at her home to eat, and no one else to support her. Because the rich guy from before was killed by Han Feng. That's why she needs someone who has unlimited supplies to feed her and comfort her." But Mr. Jang was smart enough to deal with her. He pushed her away and said, "Miss Hyuna, I think you misunderstood me. I was asking them to join the committee because one of them can fight and the other can cure diseases. What can you do?" Mr. Jang left her and said slowly, "I'm sorry, but you're not worthy of my winning over right now." She remembered the warm feeling from Han Feng's house and said, "Brother Jang, what if I say I know where to find supplies?" The next moment we saw that Hang Feng's room was very warm and he was telling that little girl to find something which has some fan blades. In the next scene, we can see a space on that little girl's chest. She was pulling something out from the dimensional space and Han Feng was shouting, "You found it! Pull it out!" It seems like this little girl also has special powers like Hang Feng. When she pulled out, Han Feng shouted, "Isn't a model from a clothing counter? Does it have anything to do with what I just described?" Han Feng was so disappointed with her. He said to himself, "To put it simply, this middle school girl has the ability to store things in space. She can open a black hole in her chest and suck in everything she sees." Then he said to her, "If you can't find it, my house will be full. But it's easy to put things in, but hard to take them out. Her accuracy in finding things is very low." Han Feng was so curious about what is the inside of her black hole like. Why is it so hard to find? Virtual space? Or has it been transferred to some other place? She said, "I haven't explored it yet, but I'm sure it's a vast space." Han Feng asked her, "Can I stick my head in there and take a look and help you look for it?" She replied, "Yes, you can." First, he put his hands in the space and said her hands are moving around so naturally, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Then he slowly put his head in the space in front of her. Han Feng slowly opened his eyes and saw inside a huge space like another dimension, where she stored all the things she needed, all types of food, grocery, and medicines. Han Feng remembered and said, "So you are indeed a supernatural being who emptied out the East District supermarket overnight. But in this vast space, isn't this like looking for a needle in a haystack?" Suddenly he realized there was no oxygen to breathe in. All the water from his eyes and mouth was just sucked away. Instantly, he pushed himself out of the space, fell on the ground, and breathed heavily. After he caught his breath, he started shouting at her, "Why didn't you tell me in advance that there was no oxygen inside? My skin feels like it's going to swell and break, and I feel like all the water in my body is being drained," she said calmly. "I don't know, I can't enter. My hands are not injured." She felt something in the space and pulled it out. She said, "This is it?" Han Feng said, "That's it. It actually exists." She also said, "I also found other—" Han Feng was shocked after watching these many boxes. He said to her in excitement, "These boxes are?" On the other side, on the 18th floor, it was dark all around, and there is complete silence all around the building. It seems as if everything is silent, and just darkness is speaking. In a queue, 3 guys climb the stairs gradually. 2 of them are wearing masks to cover their faces, and they have torches in their hands. The guy leading them is not wearing a mask. He also has some iron rods in his hand. The front one throws the torchlight on the wall where floor No 18 is written. The second man says that the 18th floor is very weird. He asks the first one if he really wants to go up there. The second man replies that he will not run into that monster again. The first one stops and says that Mr. Jang has ordered them to investigate first because he trusts them. They cannot lose his trust and let him down. The second one asks if it might be possible that the lady Hyuna is deceiving him. The first replied to him, he should stop his nonsense talking. He should trust Mr. Jang's judgment, finish the work quickly, and return as soon as possible. That little girl and Hang Feng are watching them via a screen display sitting in the room. Hang Feng says that it is sure enough that they have come. Fortunately, that's why surveillance was arranged in advance. He calls her to start the second plan that they made. He says that he will light the ignition and she will set out as he comes back. He holds a stopwatch and thinks that he will have to time it exactly. He sets the timer to 2 minutes. He seems confused. The scene shifts to the unknown persons who entered the building stairs. The first one looks towards the upside of the stairs and asks if they heard any voice ahead. The second one murmurs. The last one says that it could be that ghost again. They all seem stunned. Suddenly, the little toy cars come out speedily from the upside of the stairs, and it strikes the first one's face. Unfortunately, some crackers are also bound to them. As it strikes his face, the crackers explode and lime gas gets spread all around. They all are invisible to each other for a while. The first guy asks about the location of the other ones. He says that his eyes are hurting so much. Suddenly, a drone camera appears and surrounds them from the top dot. This is sent over there by the Hang Feng and a little girl. That little girl is controlling the drone. They watch strangers on a screen. The scene shifts to the stairs. The first guy calls the others to run away. A cracker is also bound to the drone. 22 seconds remain in its explosion. Little girls ask if she should throw it. Hang Feng tells her to make the drone closer to them and throws it again because he wants to teach them a lesson this time. In long and short, they all bluntly move down the stairs. Still, 15 seconds remaining in the explosion of the cracker. Suddenly, the first guy turns back and gives a fleeting look to the drone. He gets threatened and swirls the crowbar iron rod. He uses "I'll word for the drone." Hang Feng tells her to be careful and don't let the drone get damaged. The guy shrieks that he will screw the drone. He again swirls the rod badly and it hits the wing of the drone. She tells Hang Feng that the left side of the drone gets out of control. She also adds that she cannot control it. The drone gets out of control and swirls randomly. Hang Feng shouts at her. He says that it is just there unmanned. The drone goes outside the building and an explosion takes place in the air dot. It is very cold outside. A cold wind is blowing all around. The drone gets bent aside and seems out of control. She says that the right propeller has failed and it is descending. Hang Feng orders her to find a place to stop quickly before she breaks it. She says that the drone successfully landed at the dock, outside the window of the stairs. Hang Feng seems irritated. He sits up from the sofa and tells her that he will get it right now because the drone is very important to them, while the little girl is still looking at the screen display, holding it in her hand. She says that there is a dead boy on the stairs as well. She shows it to him. Hang Feng asks if he sees a corpse. He calls her to zoom in a little closer and take a magnifying look. She magnifies the screen and makes him watch a guy lying in a tilted way. Hang Feng asks why he fell over there. He also thinks if the guy was also robbed. After watching the guy curiously, he asks if he is Brother Lee. Hang Feng sits up, goes aside, and opens the door of the cupboard. He takes out some edibles. He tells her that he has the key and he will be back soon. He also advises her that she should not open the door casually. Suddenly, the little girl comes close to her. Hang Feng looks at her strangely. She offers him the retention communication instrument. He holds it and says thanks. After securing his gun for safety, Han Feng took a final, steadying breath before stepping into the dim hallway, searching for Brother Lee. The darkness felt suffocating, thick and silent, stretching into unknown depths. With only his flashlight to pierce through it, he began his descent, moving floor by floor. Crackle! The communication device sparked to life, and the voice of the little girl in his apartment cut through the silence, her tone soft yet reassuring. 17th floor, clear. 16th floor, clear. 15th floor, clear. With each confirmation, Han Feng's heart settled, but his grip on the flashlight tightened. He pulled his jacket closer, feeling the comforting warmth through his gloves. The last report from the drones showed an outside temperature of a biting minus 49.8 degrees Celsius. Without protection, any human would freeze within minutes, let alone survive a half hour. This wasn't just cold, it was deadly. Brother Lee's situation couldn't wait. Han's mind raced. Whatever trouble he was in, they had to get to him, and fast. Meanwhile, down in the dim basement parking garage, shadows flickered as Mr. Jiang's men reported back. Their voices low and tense, the men who'd tried to take down Han Feng now stood before Mr. Jiang. One of them, the man with glasses, took a hesitant step forward. "The 18th floor, that place is dangerous," he said, rubbing a bruise on his jaw from the earlier encounter. "Be careful if you decide to go up there yourself." Mr. Jiang simply nodded, his expression unreadable. "Understood. Thank you for the warning. Your hard work won't go unnoticed." Another voice spoke up from behind him, suggesting, "Let's give them 3 sets of thick clothes for the next time." With a nod, Mr. Jiang handed out the clothing, adding a little extra to each parcel. His words were calm yet commanding. "We don't mistreat those who contribute. Your efforts have been valuable." The men murmured their thanks, bowing respectfully before turning to leave. But just then, Hyona stepped forward, her voice filled with an eagerness she could barely contain. "Brother Jiang, can I join you now?" Mr. Jiang glanced her way, his expression unmoved. "No." His reply was immediate and firm. He paused, crossing his arms as he continued. "First, we can't even confirm this was done by your so-called friend. And second, if Uncle Liu hadn't seen people moving supplies himself, I'd have dismissed it entirely." He gestured to his men. "Let's check that building ourselves." Jin Wen straightened, his voice crisp. "Understood, Mr. Jiang." Before they moved out, Mr. Jiang added a command. "And give Hyona something to protect herself." He turned back to her, his gaze unwavering. "Whether your information is true or not, the only way to prove your value here is through action. Show us your worth." Hyona's eyes widened, the weight of his words settling over her. She reached for an iron bar Jin Wen held out to her, her grip tightening. Her voice was low but firm. "I understand, Mr. Jiang." Moments later, they moved up the stairwell, their flashlights casting long shadows across the concrete walls. They climbed in tense silence, each step echoing against the cold stone. Suddenly, Jin Wen paused, his flashlight catching a figure sprawled across the stairs. "Mr. Jiang, look," he whispered, gesturing ahead. There, lying motionless, was Brother Li. His face was gaunt, his frame almost skeletal, as though he hadn't eaten in days. The team rushed to his side, pouring hot water into his cracked lips. Brother Li coughed, eyes fluttering open. He gasped, "Hot! Hot!" His gaze darted around, focusing slowly on the faces surrounding him. Realization dawned, but instead of gratitude, he muttered under his breath, "Bad luck?" Jin Wen's face contorted with anger. "Li, what's with that attitude? Mr. Jiang just saved you and you can't even say thank you?" Brother Li wiped a hand across his dry lips, dismissive. "Thank you? Save your thanks for the people you rob. You aren't heroes. Don't pretend to be." Jin Wen bristled, his fists clenching. He took a step forward, but Mr. Jiang raised a hand to stop him. His voice was level and calm, yet carried an unmistakable firmness. "Brother Li, I am asking you to join us," he said, his gaze steady. "We're stronger together. United, we can endure the cold and survive this." Brother Li scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping his parched lips. "How many times must I say it, Mr. Jiang? I'll never join you." Jin Wen couldn't hold back any longer, his voice a low, threatening growl. "Li, stop being so shameless. Mr. Jiang just saved you from death." Brother Li met his gaze, his tone cold as ice. "What? You want to force me to join? Is that it?" Mr. Jiang took a step closer, placing a firm hand on Li's shoulder, his eyes narrowing. "Brother Li, is there some misunderstanding? All we're asking for is a little help, so we can bring hope to those who need it." But Brother Li's anger only deepened, his voice a low hiss. "Mr. Jiang, don't play games with me. You give those poor souls a meal every 3 days. Is that what you call hope? To me, that's just keeping them alive long enough to die. I don't have family to worry about, and I won't fall for your traps." Watching from the shadows, Han Feng felt a chill run through him. 1 meal every 3 days. So that's the truth? Mr. Jiang doesn't care about them at all. The truth weighed heavy on him, and anger simmered just below the surface. This property committee uses the vulnerable to control the strong. It's manipulation, cold, calculated. He felt a pang of worry for Brother Lee. If things continued like this, tensions would surely boil over within the group. Jin Wen's patience snapped. Grabbing Brother Lee by the collar, he leaned close, his words a venomous snarl. "Lee, you're ungrateful! Answer me now, are you in or are you out?" But Brother Lee didn't flinch. With a swift shove, he pushed Jin Wen back, hard, sending him stumbling and falling to the ground. "What if I don't let you pass, huh? What are you gonna do about it?" Jin Wen winced in pain, his anger burning bright. Mr. Jiang signaled for calm, but the tension was thick, every person ready to pounce. Mr. Jiang's eyes narrowed as he locked onto Brother Lee's defiant gaze. "Why, Lee? Why do you resist us so much?" A heavy silence fell, the others waiting, holding their breath for Brother Lee's answer. But his expression made it clear. He was ready to fight, alone if he had to. Han Feng clenched his fists, his heart pounding. "Brother Lee's so weak, he could collapse at any moment. I have to help, but there are too many. What can I do?" His hand found the gun in his pocket, his fingers closing around it as he made a choice. Steadying himself, he raised the weapon, aiming it down at the group below. Brother Lee sensed Han Feng's presence and shot him a quick glance. A small, defiant smile crossed his lips. "Well, come on then! What are you waiting for? If you're gonna fight me, then fight!" He knew Han Feng was up there, and he wasn't backing down.